On tonight's episode of the Gamecasters, we talk about all the games we've been playing recently. We do another board game beatdown for you, and then we end with our top 5 games that use deduction. Stay tuned. Gamers, and welcome back to episode 42 of the 42nd most popular gaming podcast in the 42-year-old demographic of people 4'2". Yes, we're very popular with all the non-famous Peter Dinklages out there. So we are currently about 2 months to the day almost of our statewide lockdown / quarantine. We live in Michigan, which if you Google it, just returns nothing but pictures of burning dumpsters at the moment. I mean, we've got some of the largest cases of coronavirus in the country. Everyone hates our governor because she's taking our rights away. And there's been nothing but controversy about the gathering of heavily armed protesters in the state capitol. And as if that wasn't enough, the universe decided, in its infinite wisdom, that the town of Midland has had it too good for too long and said, fuck them, let's flood their entire town with 6 billion cubic feet of water because, I don't know, I'm bored. Luckily, we were unaffected by the flooding as we live about an hour and a half or so away from Midland. But our good friends, Date Night Dice and Pizza That Is Too Hot to Eat Ken, they both live in Midland, or all of them live in Midland. But also lucky for them, they were mostly unaffected by the flooding, but it did still hit them, and our hearts go out to them and everyone else affected by that. It was a 500-year flood that swept through here last week. Crazy biblical type stuff. So to bring it back to coronavirus, I found that every time I go anywhere now, I feel like I'm robbing the place. Like I went to 7-Eleven for milk the other day, and I pulled into the parking space. I sat in my car, I looked in the rear view, and I put my mask on. You know, I've been putting on the Mission Impossible music every time I go somewhere now. Like imagine you're going to a bank, and you put on your mask as you're walking into the
It is very weird.
Yeah. That feels strange.
I go to the grocery store, and I just have these moments once in a while, and I just look around, and I'm like, everyone's wearing a mask.
Right, who's
there's
gonna
hardly
rob
any
me?
people here. Like, this is so weird.
It's like a burglar's convention everywhere you go.
I've seen a lot of people post like them in lines, like pictures of them in a line, and they're like, man, the line to rob this place is just outrageous.
Yeah, exactly. What if you're actually robbing the place? You'd get no respect or any fear walking in with
No
the mask
respect,
from the
no
store owner.
respect.
Wouldn't that piss you off if you're just like, I'm here to rob you? Oh, hello. Get in line. So anyway, in other news, we've been, Natalie and I have been really focusing on our physical health. I spoke with Ben from Date Night Dice and got some great pointers from him. And Natalie and I are taking this seriously. I got this fancy GPS
Garmin watch.
Yeah. The Forerunner 935. We got a Nordic Track S22i in-home spin bike, kind of like the Peloton, and for tracking, our health basically and getting healthier.
They have like classes and like these like training programs where you like look like you're riding outside in different parts of the world. You can like
because the spin bike has like a 22-inch screen on it, and it's got this app called iFit, and then you just kind of go on to it and it
pick a workout.
It plays workouts for you. It's pretty cool. We think it's really important right now to take care of our physical selves while we're not in the pandemic. Or while we're in this pandemic. It's never important to take care of yourself when you're not in a pandemic, but since we are, it is important to us.
This is coming from the speaker of the self-hindrance seminars. I don't understand where this is. Who you are. What have you done in 2 weeks?
Coming to self-help thing. Tony Robbins came to my house.
Tony Robbins,
to my head, and he said, "You listen here, bro."
Not the gazelle guy. Tony Robbins is not the guy. Not the
Tony
gazelle.
Little.
Tony Little does the gazelle.
Tony Little
Robbins
has the super long flowing hair.
Yeah, it's a good pony.
Yeah, Tony Robbins, he came to my house and just like threatened me. You know, he's like, everyone's self-hindering. I need money.
He's huge. Isn't he like a huge dude?
Yes.
He's
very tall.
Smacked you with his humongous hands.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's like a big dude.
Yeah,
like,
I would roll over in a second.
Yeah.
My middle name is France.
He's got like a deep voice.
Yeah.
Like a raspy, deep voice.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so when I talked to Ben, he gave me some great advice about where to begin. And if anybody is trying to begin some kind of weight loss journey or even just some kind of exercise journey or whatever, he gave me some really good advice that I want to just for a quick second impart onto all of you. He said to pick a primary goal of something that you want to do, and a secondary goal, and I even picked a tertiary goal because I like saying the word tertiary. So
sounds like tush.
He said for the primary gool, yeah, it sounds like tush. For the primary goal, he said, make your primary goal something that you're going to invest money into or invest into to help you stay on track and stay motivated, and do that primary goal thing 3 to 4 times a week. All right, so for me, I picked weight loss as my primary goal. So to do that, I invested money into this Garmin smartwatch, GPS watch to track my runs, and we got the, it sounded like diarrhea, track my runs. Ooh. I had the runs today. My watch kept track. And it's down into my shoes, and the dog's licking it out.
Oh, yep.
Or and then we bought the Nordic Track spin bike thing to help us stay on track. So that's all going toward the primary goal here. And then the secondary goal, I want to just strengthen my core. So I'm going to do some core exercises and do that about 2 to 3 days a week. And then I have a tertiary goal to just get stronger, get beefy. And that'll be like a 1-2 day a week thing. And I found that was some really good advice that he gave. And I feel like it's going to work. Investing the money into the primary goal, I better can lose some weight here.
And you better use it because we spent money on it.
Is it true if you don't use it, you lose it?
you saying like the different days a week where you were like, I'll do this 4 days a week, this 3 days a week.
Yeah, it's like 12 days a week.
It was like, it's like that episode of The Office where they're like, if we want you to take a walk every 30 minutes, and they want you to take a break. Don't look at your computer screen for 30 minutes. And like,
he's like, well, that's like 10 hours.
And they're like, just do it at the same time.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah, anyway, so that stuff all starts tomorrow. So the regimen starts tomorrow. Yeah, if anybody hasn't listened to the Gamecasters podcast, after you listen to our podcast, go listen to the Gamecasters. They're great. You can find them anywhere you listen to podcasts. I think they're currently on episode 42.
I think so.
As of the second of this recording.
Well, so that's good, man. I'm proud of you guys doing that.
Yeah, thank you. We both have always wanted to,
it's very hard for us to get motivated.
Yeah, we're just lazy sons of bitches.
I think about exercising all the time, and then once in a while I'll do it for like a week.
Yeah.
And then I just stop because I just don't like it. So it's hard to find something that will keep you going.
Yeah.
Because I don't like going to the gym. I don't like being around other people when I'm exercising. When I'm exercising, it's like, I don't know, it's just like
No, I get it. No,
not something you want to be looked at when you're
Yeah, right.
Devin's been doing some stuff.
Gross.
Yeah.
What is she doing?
She bought like this sort of like the video screen on the Peloton or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like classes that she takes, but it's on the computer. So the computer will essentially tell her what to do, and there's like a classroom of people.
Yes.
And what's cool about this, and so because I've done a handful of classes with her just randomly, and in the class are people like us, are normal looking people. They're not just like these buff freaks of nature who are just like doing everything amazing. Sure. There's like people who do it well, and there are people who are like struggling to do it. It's nice to see other people. There's
people dry heaving in the corner.
Yeah, like that's us. Yeah, so she's doing that, and that's and what's hard is when she does that is I'll try to do like my master's paper, so I'm not getting as much exercise as she is. Sure. We do try to take a walk every day, so we'll take Jack on a 1 or 2 mile walk every day,
right?
Which again is like nothing. It's not like getting my heart rate up, but.
Yeah, but
it's something.
Good. It's better than sitting on the couch all day.
Yeah, I do that too. It's just the rest.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's what we were like. Oh, that we've been not moving, especially since we haven't been leaving the house. And like for a while, when the weather was nice, which for like a good month it wasn't.
Yeah,
we were riding our bikes. We were
going outside at lunch every day with the kids. Right. And again, like you said, Jeff, it doesn't really get the heart pumping too much. But
yeah, you're not going to lose weight that way, but it's still good for you. But I agree though. Like with Devin. Doing a class, doing something that someone is telling me what to do is essential for me because I will be lazy. I'll be like, okay, I'll go on this bike for like 20 minutes and I won't really push myself at all.
Yeah.
But if somebody's telling me to do it, I'll try harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Well,
so what's been going on, Jeff? What have you been doing?
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I got my hair cut.
Your ears were lowered.
From a professional, Devin, my wife. So
she's a professional because you gave her money afterwards.
Yep. Yeah, right. So I borrowed clippers from Deepwater Joe, and we sat in the backyard yesterday, and Devin trimmed up my hair, and
wow,
it honestly made me feel better.
Yeah.
Like I felt so gross just with like
gross.
long hair. I'm like, oh my God, it's so annoying. It's like covering my ears. I looked like a rejected beetle. It was just like not fun. So
I'm even feeling that way. I mean, my hair isn't like a boy's hair, but it's like so long. I don't want it this long. I want to get it cut like
so
here.
This makes me feel a little more normal. So this will get me until
good, buddy.
Thanks.
Yes.
This will get me until we can actually go to a salon or a barber or something.
Right.
But I also finished Mr. Robot.
Oh, sweet.
Isn't it
was
awesome, dude?
Amazing.
Yeah.
That last season.
The last season was one of the best seasons of any show I've ever seen. Like from start to finish, I was like, this is incredible. It was
we
so
loved it
good.
Too. We loved it too.
We finished Upload. Did we talk about that last week?
You talked about watching it. I don't know if you finished it, but you did talk about watching it.
We watched it in like 3 days.
We went through it
Okay.
They were pretty short episodes and there was only 10. So
good show.
It was very good.
Okay.
Good show.
I liked it a lot.
I mean, it's not like Mr. Robot good, but it's good.
It's
kind of a comedy,
It's
you know,
different.
because it's
like
Greg Daniels. Mm-hmm. So it's good. I liked it, and we're sort of watching Dead to Me.
Well, I'm watching Dead to Me.
Yeah.
You watched
Oh,
one.
yeah.
No, I didn't watch one episode. We watched like
2?
3.
Oh, okay.
So I've watched 3 episodes of Dead to Me.
Okay,
And it's got
I like
Lindsay
that.
Weir from Freaks and Geeks, and she makes out with Lucy from
Parks and
and
Rec.
Rec. I know.
wow.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
What a great show.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's really been it. We've been trying to play games and watch some TV, and we're teaching. So we're almost done kind of with this
What is it,
distance
3
learning,
weeks?
remote learning. So I have one more week of material, and I think the last 2 weeks of scheduled school is going to be allowing kids to like make up stuff and get caught up.
Oh, okay.
But Devin is 3 more weeks. Yeah, so she doesn't have to work Monday, but next week and then 2 more. She has class twice a week, so she has a Zoom session with her class.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all of her first graders show up and they read
they
a
all
book
show
or they
up, too?
talk. I would say
the
most
attendance
of them. I would say she's usually missing somewhere between 5 and 8.
Okay.
But it's a good showing, and they do pretty cool creative things. I think it's better at the elementary school. They kind of did like a virtual tour to the San Diego Zoo, so they can click on the camera and they could go and like, look at the different exhibits.
That's cool.
So that's been fun for her to at least see her kids. She did find out she's like looping up with her kids, so she's going to teach 2nd grade with the same group of kids. So she's really excited about that. So she gets to like, because you kind of cut ties so quickly. Mm-hmm. Like all the schools are like frozen in time. I haven't even gone into my building, so
Wow.
she gets to see her kids again for another year and watch them kind of grow up.
The whole thing
That
is
is
so
cool.
crazy. I feel like in a way it's kind of thrust us into the future technology-wise, because for so long education has been classroom. You're in a classroom, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
really all you do. And so now it's like you're forced to kind of like, I
what else
love
is
that
out there.
that
Yeah.
thing that you just said about how they do this virtual zoo visit and the kids can click on stuff. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
You know, and you can discover all these interesting ways to educate.
Yeah,
I think
teachers.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Teachers have done a really good job of trying to adapt to a completely new thing.
I feel like you guys have it the worst in a way.
crazy.
The best because you're home, but the worst because you have to still figure out how to educate these children.
Right.
And now they're not in a classroom where you can focus them, and beat them, and give them drugs if they do bad.
Right.
But they're at their own home where they might not
Yeah.
even show up to the Zoom call. And what can you do about it?
Right. And I think it's hard on parents too. Like it's hard to
Dude, it's the worst.
I cannot.
Because not only do we work full time, now we're educators.
and
Right.
nobody wants it like that. Teachers are not like sitting back going, "Oh, cool, let the parents do it." This
Yeah.
is not. No one wants this.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we know that like this is not your profession. You don't know how to teach someone letter sounds or like math.
No,
This stuff is
you're
not what
absolutely
you do.
right. I've tried.
So
Like sometimes Cameron will look at me and be like, "Can you explain it different so I can understand?" And I'm like,
yeah, so we're all
I don't know
we're all
how.
waiting. Yeah, we're all waiting to hear what finds out in what we do in the fall. Like we don't know what school's gonna look like next year, but kids can't be at home all day. 5 days a week.
And it's
just
also
not-
like hard
it's not
to
fair.
get them to focus at home too, because then there's like crying. You have to write. You have to write. This story. I have to write 2 sentences, and I'm like,
This
so
is a
what?
true,
That'll take you
actual thing that
literally
happened
5
with Lexi.
minutes.
Yeah.
I don't want to write.
there's-
I hate writing.
She cried for like 20
I'm like,
minutes
okay.
straight because she had to rewrite
Yeah.
sentences that the nanny wrote.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
that
first
happens
step,
in
write
first
your
grade.
name. Yeah. I'm like, first step, write your name. I don't want to write my name. I hate writing my name. I'm like,
Yep.
write your name, like, boop, boop, boop. It's like the easiest thing that you even know how to do. And she's just like crying because she just doesn't want to do it. She wants to play outside.
It's like Michael Scott doing any work.
Yeah.
He just leaves the office so he
pull
doesn't have
blinds.
to for pretzel day. Yeah, it pulls the
Yeah,
blinds.
so it's tough.
But we're getting through it.
Yeah, we're
Just
adapting.
like
so
everybody. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
you figure it out. Everything just becomes like, what are you going to do? What are you going to freaking do? You're just not
Yeah.
going to do it? No,
Right,
you're
no,
going to do it.
You're going to do
yeah.
it.
It's just fun to complain sometimes.
Yeah.
So if we can move over into some games we've been playing, unless you have anything else, Jeff,
Yes.
I'd like
No, I'm good.
to talk
No.
about...
Games.
We have something else.
We do?
Oh, yeah, you do.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I do.
Well, I have something to say. We got married last weekend.
Who got married last weekend?
You and me.
We did?
On
I
Zoom.
remember.
Yeah.
I remember now.
We're not gonna go talk about it a lot, but
Yeah, this is bad because I'm not wearing my wedding ring.
I'm wearing mine.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, we
my
kind of
wedding
last
watch.
second just got a marriage license and invited some friends and family on Zoom, and Jeff married us in a 15-minute ceremony. Bing, bang, boom.
Bing, bang, boom.
Now we're
That's
married.
actually what he said. Boom, we're married. Boom, bang, 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 boom.
Yep, kiss each other. Goodbye.
Ta-da!
Yes.
It was very cute and sweet and short,
was.
and we loved it. And it was at home, and
And we want to thank Jeff especially for marrying us. Dude, you did a great job.
You're welcome, man. It was awesome. I
Super cool.
wouldn't want anybody else to do it, so I'm glad I got to do it.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect. It was like Natalie
was.
said, it was short, it was sweet. We got a nice video out of it
Yep.
with all
Yeah.
of our friends and family who support us that were there, and it was just very, it was awesome. It was
Yes.
very good. So
we're now married. He can call me his wife.
Yeah.
that's the weirdest. I mean, I know you know this.
I
but
know.
man,
It
that's
is
weird.
That was a weird adjustment too. Even just in regular conversation, talking to friends or coworkers and saying, "Oh yeah, my wife, Devin," or my
Doesn't
wife.
it sound? You feel pretentious, don't you? Like,
Yeah.
not gonna,
Yeah.
Well,
it
that's
just
what we felt
sounds-
about fiance, and then we
Yeah,
got
the
used to
fiance
it,
was.
so,
Yeah, you get used to it.
right. Like he called my dad his father-in-law, and I was like, weird.
Yeah, weird.
That's right.
Yeah.
He is Enrique himself.
Bailamos.
You are not my son-in-law, by now. So we have been playing. We played a bunch of games this past. So for right
you
after
guys
the
been
wedding,
gaming.
Natalie and I took some time off, and we're coming to the end of the time off right now. But we've been we got this new fancy table upstairs. And I set up 4 games on the table, and we've just been kind of like going around playing the games.
Yeah, instead of paying for a wedding, we paid for a new kitchen table.
Yeah, exactly. So before we got this table and all that kind of stuff, we played a game called Circadians First Light. I don't even know why I bought this game or when the decision happened. It just appeared in my collection one day. Maybe it flew by as a floating present in a balloon, and I just whipped out my slingshot and shot it right before it went into the water.
Nice.
That's an Animal Crossing
wrestling
joke.
reference.
Anyway, we got it to the table, and spoiler alert, we loved it.
Spoiler alert.
That's spoiling. You don't have to listen to anything we're going to say now. We loved it. It was great. Luckily for you, I didn't stop writing at that point. We loved it. Next game. So in Circadians First Light, you are working diplomatically with other friendly alien races. Did you need something, Jeff?
You've disabled screen sharing, so I cannot share my screen and show pictures of the video of the game.
Oh, that's weird. I've never had to enable that before.
Yeah, I have no idea. Okay, it's working now.
You should be able to now. Okay, so let's go back.
He was just like, I'm like, who's he waving to?
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, that's really weird. Okay, in Circadians First Light, you are working diplomatically with other friendly alien races that you found while you discovered this new planet. You're trading with them, farming, building, and researching the planet to see if it's a nice place to hang out. I don't know, for a lifetime or so. The game is a dice placement game. Think Alien Frontiers, Kingsburg, Castles of Burgundy, Marco Polo, Coimbra, Artemis Project, Rajas for the Ganges, Fantastic Factories, Pulsar 2849, Teotihuacan Twa, games like that, where you're rolling a certain number of dice at the beginning of your turn, then spending time allocating those dice to various game boards to take various actions, to earn various benefits, to score various points. There are some cool differences in this game. If you're looking at the video right now, it looks like a cacophony of different nonsense with just overlaid with turquoise and teal, and that is what it is. But like every game, the first time you look at it, it looks insane. As you learn the rules, it is the simplest thing in the world. So you have this center board right there, that circular board. That's where you're moving around to collect resources. The square boards right below that board, there's 6 of them. Those are the actual spots you are placing your dice to take actions, and each of those does a different thing. Like one of them in particular actually moves you on that board. There's 2 bigger boards to the left and to the right of that circular board, and those boards are also places you allocate your dice, but those ones stay out the entire game, and those earned you end game victory points. Okay. So the cool differences in this game that set it apart from others in the genre, which games like this need, because there's a lot of dice placement games, each player has a player board, and simultaneously they roll their dice and allocate them to one of two spots on their board in secret. They either allocate them to the garage, which is like the top part of your player board, which means they will be sending them out onto the main boards, those 6 boards we showed you a minute ago, or they will put them onto their farms, which stay on their player board and earn resources. There are 6 main boards that dice in your garage can be sent to, which we talked about a minute ago, each of which granting a benefit, such as getting tile upgrades for your player board, trading resources, gaining more dice for next round, earning more rare gem resources, or moving your harvester around on that central circular board. There's 2 other larger boards we talked about that you can place your dice on that are geared specifically for scoring endgame victory points. When you place dice there, they're locked and they stay there all game. The central board where you're moving your harvester is really cool, because the board is made up of a bunch of hex spaces. Jeff, if you can find a picture of the main board, there you go. You can see there's a bunch of hex spaces on there, and at the beginning of the game, your harvester starts in that middle section that's outlined by yellow there. And throughout the game, you're moving your harvester around to spaces of the board, but the way you move them is dependent on what die you place. So if you take the move harvester action and place a 1, you're moving up and to the right. If you place a 2, you're moving to the right. If you place a 3, down and to the right, a 4, down and to the left, a 5 to the left, and a 6 up and to the left. So it's kind of cool in that way. So you basically, when you move your harvester, at the end of the round, there's a resource collection phase. You'll collect whatever is printed on the board in that spot. And you need to do that and move your harvester around, because the more you do that, the better resources you get and the more stuff you're able to do, right?
You get a lot more resources this way than any other way.
Yeah, any other way in the game, you can still get resources, but this is the main way to get them. And the further out you go from the center, the better resources you get. There's so much about the rules that I'm not going to talk about in this overview, but that's basically the gist. You're rolling dice, you're placing them, either collecting resources or placing dice and spending those resources to get victory points, okay? So things I loved. I love dice placement games, and Circadians First Light stands with all of them. All the games I mentioned earlier are amazing. Amazing games. I love dice placement as a mechanism. It's just inherently fun to roll dice, and depending on what you get, you have to figure out what to do. It combines a random enough element to, a strategic-minded game. There are ways to mitigate what you roll, but mostly there's always something you can do with your dice. Pretty much always. So in a game like Deduction, I found out that there were many turns where there was dice I just couldn't use, or I didn't want to, and I couldn't do anything with them. In this game, there's enough places to go and things to do that you don't really ever feel like you're wasting your dice or you're wasting your turn.
Right. Even if it's not what you maybe intended to do, you could still do something worthwhile and not just feel like you're throwing a turn
not
away.
like, oh well, I guess all I can do is go here, so I'll go here. That doesn't really happen that often. The components are awesome. It's a Renegade game, which, as you guys know, Jeff and I and Natalie, we love this publisher. They've been killing it the last couple of years. These dice are small, translucent, really nice, they have good heft to them. The cardstock is nice and thick. There's no warping going on. Even the player screens are really nice material, which is good because you're handling them a lot throughout the game. At first, I wasn't sold on the artwork. There's a lot of teal, turquoisey color palette stuff going on, which you saw from those pictures. And I was at first just kind of like, that's a weird, interesting choice. Why did they pick that choice? As well as the artwork of the people on the cover of the box. But that all went away 2 minutes into playing the game. You start playing and you don't care what it looks like or how, and that's the mark of a good quality game right there. Like a Castles of Burgundy game, which we talk about all the time, which you look at it, and if you just came to the table, you'd be like, this looks kind of boring. The minute you're playing the game, you don't give a crap about any of that stuff. The game is that good. So things I didn't really like, there's really only one major thing that I didn't like about this game, and at the beginning of the game, you get a player power. This player power is similar to the powers in Marco Polo, if anyone's played Marco Polo, in that they're all overpowered and awesome. They're awesome, which kind of balances each other out. You play one power and you're like, this is game-breaking. But then the power your opponent has is also game-breaking in a different way, so they kind of balance that way, right? But my chief complaint with Marco Polo is also my chief complaint with this game, where the powers are so good, but they pretty much pigeonhole you towards one strategy. So if you don't follow the power of the guy that you get, the power that you get, for instance, and your opponent does, you're just going to lose because the power is so good. So, for instance, Natalie and I played 2 different games, which is cool. Like we didn't play the game the same way. We played it very differently, and I like that a lot. But the game made us do that.
Right, like you focused on what your power gave you strength in. And
I played my entire game based on my power. Natalie played her entire game on that power, and she ended up winning on the second tiebreak. Or no, we figured out it was the first tiebreak. Yeah, that was this game.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And so I like games that more give you like a direction to like, hey, here's a couple goals to complete. Start here. And then as you complete these goals, that'll kind of lead you into maybe other decisions you want to do. I love that kind of stuff. And I wish this was more like that. But it was, here's what you have to do. If you don't do this, you'll probably lose. If you do this, you have a good chance to win. Go. That's what it was. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say it felt like the game played me, but I would have enjoyed, and maybe if we play again, we just don't play with those powers and we just kind of do whatever.
That's what I was going to ask. Can you just not play with them?
Yeah,
Probably,
sure. You can. I mean, it's in the game to get one, but yeah, I'm sure you could just not play with them.
Yeah, all it does is just make something more enticing.
It basically makes, so for instance, there's those 2 big playing score point boards. My power was basically like, you get the most amazing discount and benefit if you take this scoring board. Mm-hmm. And Natalie had the exact same thing for the other scoring
Mine
board.
was like, if this thing happens to you, you lose something, but in your case, you gain that thing that you would normally lose.
So why wouldn't she always do that if she can? And mine was basically like, when you go here to this board, you can only take one thing. And there's 3 things you can take. You have to pick one. My power let me do
2.
It's like and the things you're picking are really good. So it's like, well, of course I'm going to do that because you can't.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, so overall, I really enjoyed my play of Circadians First Light. I'm very much looking forward to playing it again, as my overall feeling on the game is great. It's great. When I think about it, like right now, even, I want to play it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That negative that I gave is not like a game tanking negative, mostly because you can just not play with the player powers, I think. It was more just, as I was playing, I was kind of like, I kind of want to be able to do other things, but I'd be stupid to, because this is the way to win,
Right.
So, what'd you think?
I agree. I have really liked this game. I know that for you, the powers were something that you didn't necessarily like, but at least for this first game, I liked it because it just seemed a little bit like, well, what am I supposed to do here? And so it guided me on a strategy. And my particular power, even though it was awesome, I only ended up using it once because it just, I don't know, it just worked out that way. But it did lead me to use that board like as much as I possibly could. And like, he still used my board, and not mine, but like, he still used the board where my power was. I still used the board because you have to do those things. Yeah. But I just like went hard on the one spot, and he went hard on the other.
Yeah, we
spot.
did.
I thought this game
going hard.
I thought the decisions were very fun in this game. I mean, it is a game that we like dice placement, and then, like you said, it's got that like random element, but it's not so random that it like makes it not fun. It just makes it more challenging. I thought it was like, it's interesting decisions where you only have so many dice, and sometimes if you put them on those scoring boards, you leave them there.
Yep. Less dice for
and
next
so then
time.
you have to make that decision, like, do I leave them there and have less dice, which means less actions, or do I keep them? And just making those decisions, even deciding on like where to move the harvester on that center circle board, because like I need these 2 resources, but if I go here, I can just get a ton of these and be set for like a couple turns. And even that was just fun. Like, oh, what should I do? They're all so great, and which direction do I want to be moving towards? So I'm in a good place at the end of the game to like score more points. And it was just all like really fun decisions to make. And I agree with you. I really enjoyed this game.
Dice placement games are cool, man, because you have that random element of rolling dice, which is just fun. I mean, rolling dice is just fun, right? You take a game like Strike, that literally the entire game is rolling dice. That's just fun. So you add that into like a strategy game. You can do it in the awesomest way. You roll the dice, you get that fun thing, and now I have to figure out, okay, with what I rolled, what do I do?
Oh yeah, that's the other. Sorry,
what's so
the other thing
cool
I wanted to
about
say. I remembered that I thought about it. It was hard because, unlike a lot of other games, you rolled all your dice and you basically had to like plan out your entire round right then and there.
Yeah, in private.
In private, because you're like, okay, I have this dice. If I place this here, then it gives me this, and then I can do this, and then place this here, and you just have to like sit there and plan it out. Because,
but you don't know what I'm gonna do.
Right. I mean, sometimes you have to like change your plan based on what the other person does, but because when you roll your dice, you place them in like the order of like when you're going to use them. So that means you have to like be like, I'm going to use this first. So I'm going to place it like in the first column or whatever. And then I'm going to use this second. And you have to know the order before you even start playing, so you know how to place them, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah, it does. Definitely does.
And it's hard because like I messed up sometimes. I'm like, no, I did this in the wrong order. I wanted to do this, but now I can't because
you might like need a resource to do something else or vice versa.
Yeah. And so it's fun though.
So that's Circadians First Light from
I really
Renegade.
like dice placement games.
Jeff, you would like this one a lot.
Because I feel like a lot of dice placement games, it's different every time. Like when you play it, yes, there's a strategy. There's obviously like, this is how you score points. This is what I'm going to do. But if the first game I roll 4, 5s, and 6s, the next game I roll 1, 2, 3s, I have to play the game differently. I just have to.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot. It sounds really great.
You're right. It's like inherent variability. It's really cool. Yeah, Circadians First Light, Renegade Games. What about you, Jeff? What have you been playing, man?
I'll stick to the Renegade train.
Renegade.
This is Renegade / Foxtrot Games.
Okay.
I don't know if they've like merged for a couple games or not. But the only other game I can think of that has both of them is the Lanterns Dice, is both Renegade and Foxtrot games. So anyway, maybe they merged to make this game. But this game is called The Search for Planet X. Ooh. The Search for Planet X I kickstarted. And now whenever I say kickstarted, I have to be like, all right, is that the drink? Or
did I say the right one?
Kickstarter?
Yeah, did I kickstarted?
Yeah.
Kickstarted?
So I kickstarted it and just got it a week ago, and I got it to the table quickly, which is
Why didn't
great.
you get this game?
I don't know. I don't remember even seeing it on Kickstarter.
I felt like I might have texted you. It's obviously so long ago.
I feel like I don't remember.
Yeah.
You probably
it's
did.
months and months ago. But so, and what I was happy about is we played it right away. We got it, and we played it within a few days of getting it. Because sometimes you get Kickstarter and it just sits there.
Yeah.
These Kickstarter games are just sometimes just I forget about them and then I lose hype. But this one I got to the table quick. And The Search for Planet X is a pure deduction game. Players are astronomers trying to locate Planet X.
Ooh.
The game board, which you might have saw in the pictures, or Ryan will find the game board. The game board is the night sky essentially, and it's broken up into different sectors. So think of a big circle broken up into pizza slices, and either 12 sectors or 18 sectors, depending on the difficulty level you want to play. And what's cool is players start the game with their own set of unique information about what is located where on the board. So each of these sectors is going to have something in it. So each sector could have an asteroid or a small planet or a gas cloud or a comet. So they have individual things. A few of those sectors will show up blank, will have nothing in them. One of the nothing sectors is Planet X, based on some of your logic rules. That makes sense? And so you go, you take actions, and you choose one of 4 actions. The actions are pretty simple. It's either you survey the sky, so you pick a number of sectors on the board that you want to survey, and you ask it how many blanks are in these sectors. So how many asteroids?
Jeff, I don't mean to stop you. Is a sector the pie slice itself, or is a sector one of these 3
sector
things?
is the pie slice. Yeah, I'll tell you what.
If anyone's looking at this picture, are you saying that Planet X is in either this or here or here or here or here?
It could be. This is like in the middle of a game. So
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what those little squares are. Yeah. So that's one of the things you can. Yeah. No, that's right. So you can survey the sky. So you ask it all takes place in this app. So you can select actions on this app. So you can
app trip.
Yeah, so you can use your own device, or you can share a device if you want and pass it around. And you select what action you want to do on the app. One thing you do is survey the sky, and you can say, all right, in sections 1 through 4, how many asteroids are there? And it'll be like 2. Okay, and you mark it on your sheet. Your sheet's there if you see if you're watching the video. You can cross things off or circle things depending on what makes sense to you in your brain. You can target a specific sector, and that gives you like really pinpointed information in one of the sectors. You can get new logic information, so you can ask the game for another like piece of logic clue. You know, like this can't be next to this sort of thing, and it adds to some of your rules. Or you can just choose to find Planet X, and you say, all right, I think Planet X is in this sector. What's great is you can't just guess, kind of, because you have to not only know what's in this sector. So let's say I think Planet X is in sector 7. You also have to say what's in sector 6 and 8. So you have to know what's on both sides. So you can't just luck into being like every time you just try to pick whatever.
Yeah.
And what's cool is as you take actions, they take time. So think of a game like Patchwork, where taking a certain button is only 2 spaces. Doing a certain action might only be 3 or 4 spaces, and now you move your little, I don't even know what those things, they're like telescopes. You move your telescopes that many sections, and if you're further behind, you still get to go. Does that make sense? Sort of like Patchwork.
Yep, just like Patchwork. Yep.
So you can take multiple actions in a row, and as soon as you pass somebody, then the person behind will go. And what's also very cool and changes the game is that as you move your telescopes around the outside of the board and you take actions, the board sort of rotates. The middle of the board spins and creates a part of the sky that they call as visible sky. So if you're looking at the video, sections 1 through 9 are visible. Those are the only sections that you can take actions on. So I'm only looking at 1 through 9, and I can't do anything if it relates to section 10 or 11. I can't do anything because it's not visible yet.
So this thing here
will rotate.
That I'm looking at, this is like over top of the board?
Yes, it's on the board and like rotates around.
Cool.
And throughout the game, you'll get to points. They're on the different parts. So again, if you look at the video, it's sections 3 and 6 and 9, but they're on specific sectors. Once you hit that sector, once the board rotates to that sector, you have the opportunity to publish theories. So everybody can say, all right, I think an asteroid is in this sector. And they have a little tiny square or cardboard piece that goes onto those squares that you were talking about earlier.
Gotcha.
Say, I think that an asteroid is in this sector. That will get you points later, but you can publish a theory. And then there's parts in the theory where it gets reviewed throughout the game, but I don't want to get too crazy into that. So play continues until someone finds Planet X and goes on the app and says, I think Planet X is here. And then everybody gets an opportunity to either publish one theory or try to guess where Planet X is to earn a little bit of points. And at the end of the game, you earn some points for finding Planet X. So the person who finds Planet X doesn't necessarily win. So you get points for finding the planet and also for every theory that you got correct, depending on what it is and where it is.
Okay,
so you get little points,
It's just most points, not who finds.
Yeah, so then it's most
X
points.
first.
So, I could find Planet X first, but Natalie, you could have made more theory guesses than me and got a whole bunch of points that way too. Or I could find Planet X first. You could have found it on your last turn and still scored just as many points or close to as many points.
Yeah.
And
cool.
Yeah, so it is a pure
awesome.
deduction game. It's deduction, and I think of other games. I know people love Alchemist, and Alchemist being a deduction game, but there's that competitive nature of the worker placement in Alchemist that makes it a little different. Where, I have to be able to put my worker on this space in order to do anything. This is deduction. You're trying to figure out something before someone else, and there's really not a whole lot standing in your way or blocking it. Or Code 777 where you're drawing the cards. What if you just draw crappy cards over and over and over again that give you no information,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, if you're looking for a game and you just love trying to figure something out, like Mastermind, this game is really good. It is not easy. It is, and what I think is great about it as well is it scales. Devin and I played on like beginner mode. So you can get less hints at the beginning, so less logical information at the beginning. You can flip the board over and play on more or less sectors depending on that. So it really can ramp up or ramp down depending on who you're playing with. And there's no,
awesome.
It's again, Renegade. It's the art is.
She wants it, bro.
The art is beautiful. Yeah,
You heard me. You just started talking, and I was like, "Why didn't you get this?"
Yeah,
Usually it's the other way around. She's like, another game.
Yeah.
She's like, why didn't you back this? Hey, so it just hit Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean it's probably not in retail yet?
Probably not. I didn't do a massive amount of research on.
You son of a.
But I'll. Okay, here's what we're doing.
Bart Simpson
We are
me.
recording in person in 2 weeks. I'm coming over.
Yeah.
I'm determined. I'm gonna come over. We've both been secluded.
like a game
We're
day.
allowed to do this, so I'll bring
let's
it
play
over to
some
you guys in a couple weeks.
Okay.
And
Okay.
You guys
I'll
can
set
play
up a
it.
Bubble Boy screen.
We need to have like a game night where
so
we
then we
play
can-
like Lorenzo and Planet X or whatever it's called.
Yes.
Dude, you're gonna like Lorenzo
Please.
a lot.
Yeah.
He's very good.
So to just kind of wrap it up, I would say there's not a whole lot that I didn't like about the game. The only thing I would maybe say that I didn't like was the fact I'm not very good at those games. Like I'm not. I didn't.
I'm not as good either. Natalie
Yeah.
is amazing. Natalie and Dave are
Yeah.
like Donkey Kong would and Natalie are gonna like duke it out for the title.
I felt like, and Devin was like, this is like homework. She wanted to play it. She was excited. She was like, this is like doing math. Like, what am I doing? So
Oh, Devin.
it was tough on her because I'm slightly better at the game. It made me feel like I was really good because I got like things quicker.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm
Yeah.
sure if I was playing against someone who actually was good at these games, I would be last and not
Yeah.
figuring it out.
yeah.
It's like those games. It seems like a lot of times they either click with you or they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And once you kind
or
of
it's
get
a lot of work.
And a lot of these deduction games are similar when you're doing like a Sudoku puzzle. Once you kind of unlock one thing, you can
Yeah.
just like it just starts
It
rolling.
cascades.
And
Yeah.
if you get it
Cascades.
first, you can really
Yeah.
get going. So
Yeah, that's
there's
fun.
there's a lot to like about the game. If you like deduction, I would check this game out. If there's I don't know when it's coming to retail, but look it
Okay, I
up.
will.
The Search for Planet X, Renegade. There's an app. The app is not
Man,
like
Renegade.
flashy, but it
Renegade.
works.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
We don't care.
Who
about
cares?
that.
It
Just
tells
It
me
has
the
an app. That's
needs
cool.
to be serviceable.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man.
Ooh, I want to
All
play
right.
it.
Yeah.
Well, we this new next game. It's not that new actually. This
been on
game
our list for a while.
designed by Juma Al Juju.
What?
I don't know if that's how it's
great.
pronounced. Or Yuma Al Yuyu. It's Juma Al
Juju?
Juju.
Jou.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a game called Clans of Caledonia. It's a game modeled almost exactly after another game that you might have heard of called Terra Mystica. It's like it in every single way humanly possible, except it's boring and worse.
It's not like it in every single way.
I didn't like it. Okay, what'd you think, Natalie? Just kidding. There's more. But seriously, this game's been sitting on my shelf of shame for far too long. I received it in a Secret Santa a couple years ago, and have been dying to get it to the table. For those of you who know me, you know how much I love Terra Mystica. Top 3 game for me. So when this game came out, it was touted as Terra Mystica Lite. If you're looking at the video right now, you can see, if you're familiar with Terra Mystica, it looks very similar. I mean, you got a player board with a bunch of pieces. It's a dynamic player board, which is sweet. And there's a main board on the front, on the top, with made up of a bunch of hexes that you're putting those pieces from your player board out onto. Anyway, when it came out, my ears perked up and I took notice. I didn't really need a Terra Mystica Lite or anything because I just love that game so much. In any iteration, it's going to make, but any iteration of that game is going to make me want to try it, you know? Well, we tried it. And man, did it fall flat. I was not going into it expecting it to be as good as Terra Mystica, just to get that out of the way. But with all the similarities, and there are a lot, I was expecting it to be really good. And in reality, it was just really boring. So here's how it works. In the game, you're taking things from your dynamic player board, zoinks, and placing them on the main board directly or indirectly adjacent, depending on your shipping level, to earn bonuses and resources. Sound like anything you know? There are 5 rounds. Each round has a different, unique way to score points. Sound like anything you know? Now, for all I'm jabbing it in, the games are actually very different feeling.
Yes.
Okay? I never actually felt like I was playing Terra Mystica, which is a good thing. Though that's where the good things stop for me. I seriously never cared about anything I was doing. I'm putting a cheese factory on the board that costs an arm and a leg to have the ability to turn milk into cheese at the end of the round. That's it. You're literally just paying money to gather resources, which you turn into other resources to score contract points. That's it. And that sounds like every game I know. So what makes this one boring and one like Circadians fun is that in this game, there's nothing clever I found that you're doing. There's no exciting moments. You know what I mean? There's nothing unique. There's nothing that, I mean, other than like I put a cow onto the board that earns me milk. I need a milk and some steak to complete this contract that gets me $10. So I collect the milk, slaughter the cow on my next turn, and complete the contract. Rinse and repeat. That's literally all you do. I mean, if you don't get the resources you want from your player board, you can go to this market and buy or sell them. Placing your guys on the board is a bit interesting because you can get bonuses for placing next to another player, which is just like Terra Mystica. So you can buy resources from the market for cheaper. And there's a bonus at the end of the game for having the most settlements on the board, joined by shipping, which has just totally confounded Natalie, making the entire experience not fun for her. Honestly, I don't understand sometimes what people see in certain games, and this game got so much love. It still gets so much love. I don't get it. I just don't get it. To me, it's the definition of a soulless Euro, and I love Euros. I feel like Terra Mystica is tense and exciting and clever, and there's lots of different ways to get done what you need to get done if someone takes something that you know what I mean? I'm oversimplifying it for sure, but man, this game was
not by much.
Dull.
It's really not that complicated. I mean, there's just not that much going on.
Yeah, I would like to know, honestly, from anybody listening who enjoys the game, so this is a serious question. Why do you enjoy it? What do you find enjoyable about this? What did we miss? What eluded us this
That's
this
a good
time?
question.
I suppose you need to really plan ahead to get the resources you need each round to get a decent engine of contracts completed. Maybe that can be really satisfying. But man, did it just fall flat for us? I'm not. This is not to say this is not a point salad type of game. Okay, and this is not me saying, if it's not point salad, we don't like it. Okay, there's plenty of games where you're scoring points one or two different ways that are still super fun and exciting and engaging. This one it seemed overwrought. That was the term that kept coming to my mind as I was playing it. I was like, and Natalie even said, she's like, this just seems like we're doing one thing and there's all this stuff going on.
There's like so much stuff
to service that one thing.
Right, like there's cows and cheese and sheep and milk
beer,
and
whiskey,
bread and barrels, but it's all doing the same thing. It's just which one do you choose to put on the board?
They're just different resources to complete this contract.
Right. Yeah.
The component quality is amazing, stupendous, out of the universe. And I think I have the Kickstarter version. Again, I got it as a Secret Santa gift. And I have the metal coins, which is nice. Like, it's really fun. And you saw the picture that Jeff posted if you're watching the video, and it looks beautiful. It looks amazing.
It does.
All the components are shaped like what they're supposed to be, and that's super cool. It just wasn't fun for us, There was no soul or heart in it.
I think it was the theme. You think the theme maybe is boring, or you think?
Yeah, it's very boring.
Maybe
because
you're
like this
Terra
Irish
Mystica?
family, and I mean, you're just, I don't know, man.
What if you played that before Terra Mystica? So, like, did you just?
Yeah, good question. Very good question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of why people might like it.
So, okay, I wouldn't say that I even compared it totally to Terra Mystica once we started playing.
Yeah, it's just,
once I read the rules, I was like, oh god, this is a ripoff.
Yeah.
Once we started playing, I was like, okay, this actually doesn't totally feel like Terra Mystica. You can tell that it was inspired in much a way that Scythe was inspired. There's more similarities in Clans of Caledonia to Terra Mystica than there are Scythe, but it's almost felt like that. Like it's its own game completely.
Right.
It was just
felt
man.
it was almost like, because there's so much more to Terra Mystica. This just felt like the things that it did have were like taken from Terra Mystica, but it's just like, a quarter of Terra Mystica into like one little game that's like nothing.
Yeah,
it wasn't that.
You're right.
Great.
People like it.
Yeah, they do.
I
Man.
know.
It gets a lot of love, and I'm not going to begrudge those people. I actually just want to understand it because I don't. Because we played it.
I looked it up.
This happens, right?
It's got an 8.0,
8.0,
and it's 42nd ranked game.
I know. I'm curious too, because I'm like, is there something that we're just like being too judgy on, or is there something that
can't be judgy on fun? It wasn't fun.
I know, but like maybe there's something we didn't do or focus on that makes it more fun for other people. The first line I wrote down when I wrote about this game was, "Ew, yuck! This game was so boring."
Whoa!
I did not.
N.M. Tyson says, "Ew, yuck! This game is boring."
Right.
I didn't like that there's only like two things to do. You're placing, little pieces on the board to get resources so that you can fill contracts. Well, at the end,
it doesn't sound boring when you say it. Honestly, it's like every game has something like that. But why was it? It was.
And like I got frustrated because of the shipping thing. I forgot about that. But Mostly I got frustrated. Though I don't care about that. Sometimes I don't understand things. This doesn't mean it's a bad game or it sucks. What sucks for me was at the end, all you're doing is placing these things to fulfill contracts. Well, with the contracts that came out at the end and the resources that I had and the money that I had, there was no possible way for me to fulfill another contract. So the entire last round, I'm like, I don't care. I was like, what am I going to do? Place a thing on the board to get more resources? Like, okay, that might get me a teeny tiny little bit of points, but like the real reason to do that is to get contracts, and I can't get one, so I don't even care.
And if you're not having
about
fun.
The rest of this game, yeah. And on top of that, I wasn't having fun leading up to that, so I was just like, ugh, it just wasn't fun. And then there was at the beginning you pick like a family, like a clan or whatever, that gives you like a power.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there was 3 choices. Ryan went first, picked by far the only good one, and the other 2 I was like, I don't even want these. What was mine?
Yours was you got to put guys in water spaces.
That didn't. Maybe if there was more players, that would be useful. But in this game, I used it a couple times, but it didn't even do anything for me.
Here's a weird thing about that, too. The reason this happens is at the end of the round, you get income, kind of like Terra Mystica, based on what's off of your player board. So you have these 2 guys. There's like these mountaineers and then these ones that just go in the forest, or I'm not getting the terms right. But as you take those off the board, those guys give you money, and you need money for everything, right? And when you take more guys off the board, exponentially you get more money for them. But Natalie's clan, you only ever got $4 for each guy going off.
Well,
the
I guess it
board.
was helpful. I could put all my guys
but
on any space I wanted.
Yeah, but at one point I was getting $40.
Yeah, and the most I got was like 12 because I
Yeah.
had 4 out, and there were $4 or 16, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It was just we
fell
just didn't
flat.
have fun.
Yeah, it just fell flat.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'd be interested to know what people love about it, because we just didn't get it, and that just happens sometimes. So there's a lot of games that are, people say are the greatest games ever, and you just don't, you don't feel that way. And that's how I felt with something like Scythe, which is like way up there. And that game, people love that game, and I just,
Yeah.
So that is Clans of Caledonia. We will likely not play it again. I think that's going to be moved as soon as we can move it. So goodbye, Clans of Caledonia. Anyway, that's it for us.
Cross it
Jeff,
off our list,
what else you got, man? You got some expansions going down?
Yeah, we played some expansion. So we've been playing some games that we've already talked about on previous shows, so I don't want to like re-talk about Charterstone or things. But anyway, we've played some games we've played before, but we added some expansions to them. So I feel like people already know these expansions exist, and they're like, duh, why are you just now getting to them? But I'm going to talk about them anyway. So
do it, baby.
We played Terraforming Mars again.
Have we?
No.
And we played Terraforming Mars with the 3D printed tiles, which was
Those pictures,
awesome.
man, they look so good.
It was just so satisfying taking like something that looks like trees and putting the forest down. Like that was cool. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Played with the 3D printed tiles, and we also played with the Prelude expansion. And when I played Terraforming Mars the first time, I put this question on Instagram of like, what expansion do I need to get? And Prelude was by far everyone's suggestion. Like, this is the one to get. It's the best one. And playing it, I can't disagree. I've played none of the other ones, but this one is great. It adds it adds exactly what I would want an expansion to add. And I know Ryan and I, we've had this conversation a lot of like, what would we like in expansions is something that enhances the game, adds little rules, and is just easily just inserted in. Boom, you can play.
Plug it right in.
I don't have to relearn an entire game. And all this game adds is it adds, so sure, it adds a couple more corporations and it adds a couple more project cards. So you just add those to the deck. You can leave them in there. But what it adds is these Prelude cards, and these cards, they're picked at the same time you pick a corporation, and they basically jumpstart your engine. So they they add resources, they add production, they give you extra cards. They just kind of get the game going a little more for you right away. And comparing to what you said, I think it was Circadians when you were talking about, it didn't drive my entire strategy, but it gave me some direction of like, okay, I have a little bit of stuff I like. Yeah, I have a little bit more energy, so I can now keep these cards in my hand that can use energy, or I don't need to keep these ones because my energy is already up. And it cut a few minutes off of the game. I would say probably 15-ish, 20 minutes off the game. So that made
That's good.
Devin and I played it in 2 hours. So just the two of us played in 2 hours.
Wow, that's pretty good.
It was. I was like, this is just perfect. I'm like, this should have been a part of the game. So
Yeah.
I get why everybody loves it, and I get why it's like their highest rated expansion out of all of them. So it was really good. So I would say,
all right, so we'll try that. Maybe we'll try that next time we play.
for sure. And again, like I said, it doesn't add that extra like layer, because I think all the other ones add like a separate board or new rule, and it's like, no, this just can get put in. If you're going to play Terraforming Mars all the time, sure, you want to get all the expansions and keep playing it differently. But if we're going to play it once every few months, Prelude is like perfect. So I would say next time you guys play it,
Sweet.
Yeah,
We'll add that. Yeah,
I'll
thanks
try
for that.
to
We'll
I'll
add
try
that
to
for
print
sure.
you some 3D tiles and get them to you, and then you can use that. And
That would be awesome.
that could be your wedding
Oh my
gift.
god, that'd be awesome. Oh
yeah.
that would be awesome. It's now recorded for eternity.
Oh,
so
man.
you have to.
Edit this
You
out.
said.
15
Yeah, you
minutes.
said. Sweet. Okay, so that's the Terraforming Mars
Yeah,
expansion. What
so
else you got?
I played one more. So we praised Orleans last episode or 2 episodes ago.
Good game.
Orleans.
Good game.
And I did the same kind of thing. I talked to some people about what expansion to add. There's 2 of them. There's like this bigger box one that adds the 5th player. And yeah, you have them all. And then there's this
same
trade
with
and intrigue
Terraforming
one.
That we don't play.
Yeah. And I talked to Ben, again, from Date Night Dice a little bit about the trade and intrigue, and then the other, I forget what the bigger one's called. But the bigger one adds a 5th player, and there's some solo modes. I don't do a ton of solo gaming. And I feel like this other one, the trade and intrigue, which is the one I'm going to talk about, is the one that I would play with Devin all the time. So I also play with the Geek Up bits, which are great.
Right?
Yeah.
I told
Yeah,
you.
it's just, it feels so good in the bag.
so much better.
Yeah.
I know.
Anyway, so this for Orleans, the expansion is called Trade and Intrigue, and it again is wonderful. It is a great expansion for a great game. It adds again that small layer to just make the game better. It's a tiny amount of rules, like if any, you already know how to play. It's 2 extra minutes of learning a rule, and it makes the game different enough that you would want to play it over and over again. So it adds a couple things. So it adds a new beneficial deeds board. If you remember, that's the board, the separate board where you can add your workers to it.
Yeah, once they're completed, you get the benefit on it.
Yep. It adds an intrigue board. It adds new round events and order cards. So what's cool is the beneficial deeds board has different rewards, and it kind of changes how you want to play. So one of the rewards that you can get from adding a worker to that space is you can move your merchant along one of the paths. So now, on a turn, you might be able to move 3 times, like 2 from your main board and then 1 from there. So that changes it a lot. One of the spaces on the beneficial deeds board, as soon as you add one of your workers, you get that little person that like increases your points, that multiplies your points. You just get one of those right away. So it adds some depth there to making cool decisions of like, all right, do I want to give up this monk? It's worth it over there if I can do something cool on my deeds board. The intrigue board, which we didn't play with, and I don't know if we're going to play with it, it adds a lot of player interaction, which I think is some people's complaint. The player interaction is mostly negative, which is why we didn't play it. I feel like if you're in a really competitive gaming group, you probably want to add the intrigue board. And the intrigue board, like I could put a person out and make you lose one, or have to move one of your, I can just do different things to you, but we didn't want to do a whole lot of negative interactions to each other.
Yeah, that's not fun for us.
So
either.
the events are different. They add really, they make the rewards better, but also the bad things that could happen to you worse. So I like it. I like it a lot more. I think there's only 4 or 5 events that rotate in the base game. This was like completely different. They have different sets. So they have like an A set, a B set, a D set, C set, and a D set. You kind of shuffle those together. And the last thing, which fixes Ryan's maybe one complaint, maybe you have more. One complaint of the game is the
resources?
Yeah, there's these order cards. So 5 of them come out and they refresh if you complete them. But it says like this city. So each of the cities or towns or whatever they're called on the board are labeled. So the order cards have an order that city needs. So that city might need 2 wine and a cheese.
Oh, okay.
So at any point you have to maybe trace the best path to be like, all right, I can pick up cheese here, I can pick up cheese there, I can pick up wine there. And then if I end up in that city, my last action can be to fulfill that order. So then I turn those goods in and I take the cards, and the cards are worth 10 to 15 points, 18 points. It's a lot. So you have to focus on that as well. And I know your complaint was like, they don't mean anything. They mean a couple points.
They're literally just victory points. Why even have them as resources if you're not going to do anything else with them? I like that.
So now it challenges you to go, all right, how am I going to move around the board? Because really, before how you were going to move around the board is you were just going to find the most points. I was just going to go toward that velvet or cloth or whatever that was to get the most points. But now it's like, all right, I'm going to take this wheat path to like pick up the wheat so I can go here and deliver that for points. So it really adds another layer, and I think it fixes your huge problem. So I would say next time you play Orléans, just add that in and don't look back.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So those two I'm never playing without. Those are
man, that's huge. Yeah. That's got to feel good because a lot of times you play that stuff and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. No, these were great. I felt like they should have been a part of the game from the beginning. And
that's awesome.
Devin likes both of those games, so that's obviously really helped our playing with those. So
yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
Next up for us. All these games that you're playing.
Yeah. Next up for us is, and Jeff, actually don't share the screen yet because I have something I want to share right before you do.
Okay.
But we played Lorenzo Il Magnifico, published by Cranio Creations, designed by 3 design superstars, most of which are relatively unknown to most people, but have had their hand in some incredible designs. They're not the ultra sexy names like Stefan Feldkondom or Uwe Rosenberg or Wolfgang Warsch, but instead they're more like studio musicians, kicking major ass without the fame and adoration every single human being without exception craves. Those guys are none other than Simone Luciani, and I might butcher these pronunciations, Virginio Gili, and Flaminia Brazzini. I'm guessing Italians.
Sounds Italian.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Jeff's got some.
They're Coimbra.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, okay, I'll get to that in a moment.
Sorry.
So, that's all right. So those guys, before I continue with the review, I wanted to share this matrix I created of games that these guys have had a hand in. It's actually pretty incredible. So Simone Luciani in particular having a very impressive pedigree. So let me get this up here.
That's the name I didn't know out of the 3 that you said. I don't know that name.
Simone Luciani? Yeah, he's done the most, honestly. Okay, so if you're looking at the video, and if you're not, I'll explain it. We have games Lorenzo Il Magnifico, Grand Austria Hotel, Tzolk'in the Mayan Calendar, Teotihuacan, Newton, The Voyages of Marco Polo, Barrage, Coimbra, and Leonardo da Vinci.
Wow.
Right? Those games are, wow, right? Those are some games right there. Simone Luciani has had his hand in Lorenzo, Grand Austria, Tzolk'in, Newton, Marco Polo, and Barrage. Of those. So all of these games are designed by like 1 to 3 of these people. Virginio Gigli has done Lorenzo Il Magnifico, Grand Austria Hotel, Coimbra, and Leonardo da Vinci. Then you have Daniele Tascini, who's not a name on Lorenzo, but he's done Tzolk'in, Teotihuacan, Marco Polo. And then Flaminia Brazzini has done Lorenzo, Coimbra, and Leonardo da Vinci. So all these people are working together in some way on amazing games.
Yeah.
These games are top tier level games, and most of these names, I would say, honestly, maybe I'm wrong. Simone Luciani to me is the most recognizable name of these. Maybe Daniele Tascini as well, but they're still all they're not household names in the gaming industry as are the games that I said before. And again, these games are fucking incredible. All right. So that is just a little matrix I wanted to show you that shows how good of these games are, and all these people have kind of like designed together, which is really interesting. So let me get my other screen back up here. Okay. So back to Lorenzo Il Magnifico, and Jeff, I can give you the reins back. This game was the follow-up to the amazing Grand Austria Hotel, which is a stellar game in its own right. I had done so much research on Lorenzo Il Magnifico years ago and ultimately decided to snag its ass in a bear trap, yo. Well, on the shelf it sat, languishing in the unplayed silence, screaming, yearning to be touched, played with, like all of us. I had heard so many things about how it just wasn't a great game with 2 players. And so I waited for the day to play with Thray. But on coronavirus went. And then one day, Jeff howled like a freshly changed werewolf on a full moon.
What?
Hey, have you guys played Lorenzo Il Magnifico? I think I want it. And deeply, this pulled at my emotions as I thought to myself, oh, what a terrible partner I've been, neglecting this sweet design for years on end. And it was then I decided, to hell with convention, I took the box top promptly to bed, and 5 minutes later, the game was set up to play.
5 minutes later.
And play we did, dear listeners. In Lorenzo Il Magnifico, you're trying to get the most points by taking cards from the main board and playing them to your personal tableau in one of 4 different ways, okay? Either as a building, a territory, a character, or the other one, the pink one. I don't know what that one's called.
It's like endgame
what are those
point
called?
one.
The endgame point one. Anyway, each card usually has a cost, an immediate effect that happens and triggers as soon as you take it, and then a permanent effect at the bottom that's either passive or that activates as soon as you take a spot on the board. So the game is a worker placement game, but it's done so differently, and it really needs to be talked about, I think, the way this works. At the beginning of each round, of which there are 6, the start player rolls 3 dice. And each player has these player pawns associated with each die. So there's an orange die, a black die, and a white die. You can see in the picture there at the very top of the screen there, the red player's got those player pawns, and there's a black die marker on the top and an orange die marker on the top. Okay, so those dice are all rolled. So let's say I roll a 6 on the orange die, a 4 on the black die, and a 1 on the white die. All of our player pawns now reflect those numbers. So now there are a lot of worker placement spots on the main board, most of which are spots to buy cards. Each spot has a pip cost associated with it, which is where those dice come into play. If there's a card I want on the main board that has a printed pip cost of, say, 3, I have to play either my orange or my black worker there. Remember, they're a 6 and a 4, as my white worker is only worth 1, so he can't go there. However, one of the resources you have are called servants. And you can spend these servants to increase the value of a worker at a ratio of 1 to 1. And you need to use those because another player pawn that you have is this neutral colored pawn that's always a value 0. Jeff, you can see that, or anybody looking, you can see the neutral colored pawn right there that Jeff's pointing to. That's a 0. And so that space that player pawn is occupying needs at least a minimum of 1. And so you have to spend a servant to be able to put him there. It's really interesting. The game is so fun and tense and toit. There are some placement rules to follow that make things very difficult. And in the 2-player game, a bunch of spaces on the main board are blocked off, which only makes it toiter. But the thing that this game has that a game like Clans of Caledonia doesn't have is fun factor. Seriously, this game has so many interesting and clever ways for clever play. Taking the action to run all of your permanent effects on cards can be so absolutely satisfying as you collect a bevy of resources to use for your next action, setting yourself up for more points. There are many different ways to achieve your goals, and all of them are fun to do. It's fun to figure out how to get the resources you need, to grab the card you want, to get the points that you very much deserve. And it's even fun, kind of, in a way, when your opponent takes the card that you had your eye on right out from underneath you, because now you have to kind of figure out your contingency plan, and there's a ton of things to do that you can kind of like noodle out and be like, okay, well, they took that, but if I just do this, I guess, I can get a resource to do that, and then I can get that card. Okay, that's actually that's okay, so I'm fine. That happens a lot in the game. There's a lot of opportunity for stuff like that. The resources are so very tight in this one, but in a way that also kind of works well because there's 16 new cards to look at each round, and that can be overwhelming. As you know, each card kind of does something different, but because the resources are so tight, and depending on the dice you roll, you really don't have access to all of them. So you kind of have to pick and choose then from about half that number, hoping your opponent isn't eyeing the same card. So overall, things I liked. The game is just fantastic. Building your tableau in front of you is so much fun. You know, taking cards from that main board and putting it on your player board. It's a really cool, visceral kind of feeling. Do you go for the character cards that give you more points, the more cards you have of those, and then they make it easier to do other actions, or do you spend time taking these territory cards that also give you points the more you have, but then these ones give you resources when you're able to run the permanent effect action, or do you go for the buildings that give you immediate points when you take them, then allow for conversions later on, or do you go for those other cards, that pink ones that we can't figure out what they're called, that are just for end game victory points. You can't do all of them. You can't do it all. So you have to specialize. And I love how the specializing just kind of like happens to you. And that's what's so fun. You start playing, and as you're playing, the game evolves, and you're like, okay, first things first. I'm in the very first turn. I'll just take this card. I don't really know what it does. And then you kind of figure out, okay, that card lets me do, so that card lets me do this. So now I'll take this card. And then it kind of evolves for you. And that is so cool. It's just a really, really fun kind of mechanism that it's just, I don't know, it's fresh. It feels fresh. So things I didn't like. There's really nothing I didn't like, to be honest with you. My main board, the big main board is warped, and that kind of blows. It's like pretty heavily warped. So that sucks. Other than that, the game is pretty difficult to complain about. I mean, I guess it can be a bit random with the cards and the dice. You know what I mean? Because you're rolling dice, and then those are what you can do. If you roll all ones, like Natalie rolled
two in a row,
two rounds in a row, the
low.
highest number was 3.
Oh,
out of the dice, so you have to, but see, then you have to take the action that gives you more of those servants to spend to increase that. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of,
and luckily, like you're both in the same boat.
Yeah, it's not screwing you and
I have low numbers
me.
and you have high numbers. We both have to figure out what to do.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's a fun game. I would give it an 8.5, easy, just like boom, and that will likely rise with further plays. What did you think?
I loved it too. I thought it was really fun. It's exactly what I love in games, maximizing points, making moves to get what you need to pay for the cards. Just calculating what moves to make to get what you need is so fun. It was like the perfect weight, I think. It was very thinky, but like in a fun way. The resources and the money were tight. But tight enough to like make it challenging, not tight enough to make it like extremely frustrating.
Yes, agreed. That you're right.
I love the way that you can like towards the end you're kind of like building up, because each of these cards, that you're collecting throughout the game, you could redeem benefits from them. And at the end, I had like 6 of these green cards, and I like played.
Now you can live in America.
Yeah. What?
Because you have a green card.
I had 6 of these green cards, and like basically I could redeem like the benefits on every single one of them, and that was huge, especially when like everything is so tight.
Not even just huge. How fun was that?
Yeah, it was so fun. And so it was just felt like I built all this, and now I can like redeem it, and it was it was like the best feeling. Felt like really rewarding. Like, oh, I got all this stuff.
Yeah, for a minute
now.
she was like, I don't know if I can do anything on this turn.
And then
I
all
have
of a sudden,
no resources. And she was like, oh, what if I just run this
swept
action?
through, got all the stuff, then I could just pretty much do what I needed to do when I thought I couldn't, and I don't know. I agree with you. It was very fun. We were like barely into the second round, and we were like, this is already really fun.
Yeah. We didn't even wait for the halftime. How do you feel, man? We were just like, I was like, hey, can I just tell you, I'm loving this.
Right.
The playing it was like, ooh, it was exciting. It was really cool.
Like deciding which cards that you could play, that you wanted to play, figuring out how to get stuff to get the cards that were the best. Also like getting cards to like, because some 3 of the 4 of them, I think, depending on how many cards you had, like, ramped up points you get at the end of the game. So deciding like how to play that out. Like you said, you kind of have to like specialize in one or else to get the most points. And I don't know. It was just really fun.
Fun game. Fun.
There was, I like the games where there's a lot going on. I think that's the issue we had with Clans of Caledonia, or the issue I had with it. It was like, you just weren't doing that much stuff. So it just felt boring. I like when there's just a ton of stuff happening and you have to figure out what to do.
Need some water. No, I said you need some water.
Oh, why?
I can tell your voice is going south.
I love it.
It sounds awesome.
With that is Lorenzo Il Magnifico from Cranio Creations. Jeff, you would love that game. I know it. So, hey, let's kick it up another notch and watch Jeff striptease for our amusement. Take it away, Jeff, in today's Instagram inbox. There's 3 X's in inbox this week.
Yeah.
Stripping.
And now it's time for the Instagram inbox with the Mad Board Gamer.
Welcome to the Instagram inbox. I am the Mad Board Gamer, and I asked a question this week, and I thought it would be funny to talk about games we hated again. And
it's always fun.
I wanted people to, I don't know why it's so fun.
It is.
But I wanted people to create a tagline for a game that you hate.
Awesome.
Okay, I just realized why it's so funny.
Why?
Because people, the things they say when they are filled with rage or hate is actually kind of funny.
Yeah,
when
people
you don't
just-
feel that same rage, and you're just like
Yeah.
an outsider, like,
Like, what?
wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
hot sloopy pooty.
Yeah. So I do have an update. Our buddy Nestor, he has sold the Game of Life, by the way. It is gone. He has sold it for
Really?
$4. Goodbye.
Oh, my
$4
Yeah.
in like a garage sale.
So
Wow,
he
somebody
says,
got ripped off.
So he said, yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, he made $2.75 profit.
Yeah.
So he told me, he's like, I have no more hate. So the game is gone.
He let go
The
of
hate
it
is out of his
all.
life.
Oh, man. Let that be a lesson to all of you.
Yep. So Trivia Geek,
Let it go.
we all know the game Munchkin.
Yeah, we do.
So imagine this
Unfortunately.
tagline, Munchkin.
game.
Well, that took way longer than it should have.
Yeah, yeah, that's on the box right there.
Oh, that
Yep.
took way longer.
Exactly. That game
That's
sucks
funny. That's a good one.
Game sucks. So
It does, man.
we got a few
for that
from
exact reason.
our buddy Jim Gamer.
Yeah.
So, does your family suck? Well, play Monopoly and you'll never have to see him again.
Does your family suck? Yes.
Yeah, somebody got real.
Yeah. Jim Gamer with another one. Want to annoy everyone in the cafe? Smash that lever and get hungry hippos, you douche.
That's funny.
The McMeeples also hate Monopoly. Says Monopoly. Waste 3 hours to get reminded that you're a bankrupt loser.
You're bad at negotiating.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Insults are hilarious.
Miss French Toast, who we know hates unstable unicorns,
Oh, this is going to be good.
says unstable unicorns. We hope the cute unicorn art distracts you from how boring this game is. We have so we can guess this one. So
Okay.
our very, very nice friend Peter, who doesn't want to say anything bad about games, says, I'm not going to say the game, but it took 2 hours to set up and I died in 10 minutes. Any guess on what that game might be?
2 hour setup. Well, if the 2 hour setup,
I just had a guess of
Died in
Gloomhaven. I was
10
like, is it Gloomhaven?
I don't know. I don't know enough about Gloomhaven to
Me
know
either.
if you can just die like that. You probably could. At first, I thought Ghost Stories, but there's no way that game takes that long to set up. So he didn't
No.
say the game.
No.
Oh, okay.
He's too nice. He doesn't want to like...
Yeah, he's too
I don't
nice,
know.
right?
Yeah.
Now I want to know.
So speaking of Gloomhaven, BG Rules Review says Gloomhaven, where the rules are homebrew and setup takes an hour.
Yeah, I've heard that as a chief complaint of Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
It takes forever.
John_Alexson says Terraforming Mars, more like Terra-boring Mars.
This is like a pre beatdown here.
I know.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So we have Mick Dave Mick.
Oh yeah,
MC Dave
it's
MC.
MC Dave
Yeah.
MC. Yeah,
I just like Mick Dave Mick.
no, I called him that. So him and I played some games over Tabletop Simulator.
Some
Star Wars
games,
Destiny,
yeah.
and
One game.
and
Star Wars Destiny.
Yeah.
and I called him that. I was like, "Hey, what's up, Mick Dave Mick? That's the password to get into here." He's like, "No, it's MC Dave MC." He was a DJ.
On like
College?
TRL?
Yeah, it was college.
TRL.
It was not a VJ.
Oh, sorry.
It was in college. He did college radio, and I think his handle was MC Dave MC.
Okay, all right.
Isn't that
All right,
interesting?
MC. I'll change
Yeah.
it. I won't call him Mick Dave Mick anymore.
Yeah, that sounds like kind of a slur anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So MC Dave MC also wants to talk about Munchkin. Everything you hate about RPGs in one box.
Yeah.
Wait, 12 boxes.
Yeah, there's so many games. Munchkin's been rethemed to death.
Yeah. Emotional Cyborg also hates Monopoly. Says like a road trip with family, but there's literally nothing to look forward to.
That's good.
Oh my gosh.
Another hate on Monopoly from Meeple Lane. Aggravation for 4 hours and then you lose.
These are great.
Yeah. The board game dude says The Game of Life, a game that laughs and mocks at your own real life by Milton Bradley.
It's funny. They're all these. They're all like the mass market.
Yeah.
games
Yeah.
that we're hearing about. Yeah.
Because I think
Which
once
is-
you
they're
play like
easy-
a game,
they're easy targets.
Yeah, once you play a
Right.
good game, you're like, these things.
What was
those
I
things
thinking?
suck.
Maybe
with
if they
this
had
crap.
these taglines, then people would stop
Yeah,
by
right?
and play a good game.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
How do we
this
get our
one's-
game to sell less?
Yeah. Fantasy and Some Flights says Catan, a drinking game for gamers. Like it's not a serious guy like that.
Yeah.
Zim V 2.0 Joey says Agricola because learning about 17th century farming wasn't monotonous enough.
That's kind of like your favorite quote.
Yeah, that's
the fun
the
of
greatest
17th
one.
century farming.
So that's it. Those were the taglines for games
are
that
good.
That's hilarious,
created.
man. Wow, that was like the tailgate to what we're going to do
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So to keep that hate train moving right along, let's focus it on down to one particular game that just deserves all the shit it's about to be flung from the monkey's anus in its face in today's board. Yeah. In today's board game beatdown.
Number one.
All right, Natalie, take it away. The board game beatdown. What do we got this episode?
Okay. Oh God. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Why do you do this to me? Today's board game beatdown. We're beating down the game of Scythe.
Ooh, the game of
It has
Scythe.
50,000 ratings.
Holy cow.
And 7,800 comments.
Whoa.
And it's ranked number 11 on BGG. So here we go. This one I kind of only picked because of the username.
Yes, we need a good username.
Yeah.
We haven't had a good crack and be tripping in a
Yeah, we
while.
haven't- Craig be tripping.
maybe it's not that good, but okay. Casual Sax says
That's a good one.
That's hilarious.
the artwork of this game is plagiarized.
What?
From who?
Plagiarized. From
Cite your
I read
source.
that a few people said that. They're like, I don't know.
Oh.
plagiarized.
There was more
He commissioned this from this like amazing
Yeah.
artist, and it's one oh that's weird. I wonder
Yeah,
if
interesting.
well, I guess I don't know, so I can't say.
Yeah.
But Casual Sax is really funny.
I know.
It just makes me think of what's the guy Ron Burgundy? I keep saying Ron Burgundy. Ron Swanson.
Oh, what's his name?
What was his name in the saxophone player?
Duke Silver.
Duke Silver,
Yeah.
yeah. That's Casual Sax.
Yeah. Stockpile says,
Nothing?
sorry, I was just thought this
As
was
bad
a
of a
different
beatdown
word.
as it gets, I suppose.
Contemptibly inept refuse is standard fare for this amateur garbage huckster.
What's a huckster?
Ooh, a huckster.
Is that like a Bill Cosby?
A huxtable. Yeah.
Huxtabler?
Stibbler.
That's a pretty bad one. Okay.
Christo with a KH says,
Christo.
soulless game.
Yeah.
Wow, soulless.
Yeah, a lot of people use that term, soulless Euro. I just used it in
feel like
Plans
you
of
just said it.
Caledonia.
I was like, oh, that's one
yeah,
of
it's
the
a term.
beatdown.
It's like a thing.
Rumor says, spoiler, get oil first, win.
Okay.
Okay. Huh. I bet you're wrong.
Aaron, Aerin, most overhyped game ever. Beautiful design, but crap game.
Crap game.
Yeah, it is beautiful though.
Oh, yeah.
The game
Yeah.
is, I mean, it's amazing with all that plagiarized artwork.
M. Dean says, action selection, engine building, whatever. Play on the map is extremely unsatisfying. Overall, uninteresting. Great art, though, and the minis are cool.
I agree with 100. I agree with that 100%.
Yep.
I agree with that
There's
completely.
a lot of people say that kind of thing. Like this Shinji 72.
Ooh, Shinji, that's from
Totally overrated. Epic artwork. Very good component. Ugly map.
Oh, just one component is good?
Yeah, that one.
Very
was
good component, or is that
The other
is
one.
he from Russia? Scythe, good game, very good component.
Ugly map. SagerU21 didn't understand the point of the game. Didn't see why I was wandering around collecting food that looked like pots of gold. Didn't
Yeah.
have fun.
Yeah, they do look like pots of gold. When
Yeah.
yeah, those are sweet.
Unprinted said, get Terra Mystica instead. Unless you get moist thinking about giant fighting robots, and I know some do, then all the good bits of this came from there.
Whoa. Moist.
Well, I like the first sentence you said.
Why
Let's get
moist?
Terra Mystica, but who gets? First of all, so in the last episode where we did the Mad Lib, one of the words. So I queried 7 different people, and a lot of them gave the same answer for some of the things that I wanted. So one was a disgusting word. 4 of the 7 people
Had
gave
moist.
the word moist.
Yeah, a lot of
hate
people
that
don't like
word.
that word.
Yeah, people don't like that word.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
I've
I know
heard
another
that.
word people don't like is
Panties.
panties.
Yep.
Panties.
I don't have
My
an issue with
panties.
either of those.
Your moist panties.
Get my moist panties in a bunch.
Ooh.
When I hear moist
You're really
panties.
gonna like make people turn this off.
Ugh. We need downloads. Just keep them on. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Tompy says.
Very dry box.
They're dry underwear.
Yeah.
Tompy says, I don't like the color of the box.
That's all they said.
Rated it a 1.
Box color's bad, bro. 1.
Ugh,
Yeah.
that weird color. M Street? I don't know. It says M.
Jason
space ST.
Street.
Yeah. This is the game for kids who think that pizza with spaghetti and fries is the best meal ever.
What?
What's wrong with
Okay, so it
pizza
sounds
and
like they're
fries
saying
and spaghetti?
a lot of the
What's wrong with that
mechanisms
food?
in this game don't go together. So I think they're probably saying like this game has mechs, but it's just like a Euro mechanism
Yeah.
style game. So like you don't.
Why don't
eat
they
pizza
say
and
that
fries
instead of
together.
bagging on pizza and
know.
fries? This is like a beatdown of pizza and fries.
I know. Although I probably wouldn't eat pizza with fries.
I wouldn't.
Marty S. says, you look at the game box cover and you think it's going to be a smash and grab game of apocalyptic combat. Instead, you're
Why?
gathering resources, and what little combat exists merely sends the loser running home to mommy.
All right, no, I mean, come on now. There's a little bit of responsibility on the consumer here. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're
you can't
walking
just
into
judge
a
it by
game
its
store
cover.
and just looking at the cover and buying it just from that, then you're
You got to do your
a fool.
research.
You're a
because there is,
True.
that's not a combat game, but it could look like it with mechs. But yeah,
Sure,
you
it
could, like
could.
read
I can
about
understand
it.
how you could look at the box cover and get excited and then research it and go, oh.
Yeah,
But I don't see why you would ever buy the game without knowing that.
or
So-
flip it over and look at the back of the box.
Yeah, right. It's going to tell you what it is. So, invalidated.
Invalidated. Sorry, Marty S.
Yeah.
Gruntowny says, I'm just going to say, I'm not going to. Okay. I effing hate all this unnecessary Ameritrash shit that is attached to this game that would normally be mediocre good Euro.
So at
It started
best,
very English speaking and ended very, where are you from?
yeah, at best, it becomes a okay Euro game
Yeah,
if you take
okay.
away all the other stuff.
Yeah, if you take
yeah.
away the Ameritrash shit.
Oh, that's funny.
Mudhoney says, the hipsters and bedwetters have been convinced by a clever marketing campaign and overblown artwork that this is the best 4X game ever made.
It's not a 4X game at all.
Wait, hold on. What is this
Bedwetters?
demographic they're
Hipsters
talking
and
about?
bedwetters.
Hipsters and bedwetters?
I wonder if there are
What is
listeners.
that? I really want to be
shouldn't bad
offended by
talk
this,
them.
but I'm trying to understand it first.
Bedwetters isn't this just like 4-year-olds?
No, that's not. I mean, there are some incontinents out there. But what I don't understand is why is including bedwetters making bedwetters.
Maybe they think that like
they
they get
children?
duped by marketing campaigns, by clever marketing.
People who wet the
campaigns.
bed get duped by marketing campaigns.
And then like
I'm
the
really trying to
hipsters
get offended,
duped
and I
by
can't.
like
not
overblown
offending me.
artwork.
Well, because you're not a bedwetter. Maybe if you were a bedwetter, you'd be.
I'll start.
well, I don't
I'll
know.
start wetting the bed.
And then you'll understand.
And then
I'm
see
gonna
if you're
drink a
like,
sh-
that
I'm
was
gonna
offensive.
put both my hands in water cups
Yeah.
when I go to bed
Yeah.
tonight.
I didn't know like a bedwetter was like, you know, a type of person.
It's demographic, girl. That's the thing. So that's why I don't really. I'm trying to understand this guy. Okay, keep going.
All right, last one. Caledonia says, the board game equivalent to a vegan meal, harmless, friendly, and ultimately tasteless.
That was a good one.
That's awesome. That's a good one to end.
Yeah, it is a little funnier when all of us kind of just feel the same about that game. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
I've never even
Like,
played
but when
it.
it is,
But
when
I
it
know
is,
that
yeah, when it
it's
is like a
very
game we
popular and
love,
you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funnier when
You're
you're
right.
just like, no, you're right.
Yeah, I went a little off the rails in my reactions to Star Wars Destiny
I know.
Beatdown. We're
And I
we're
did
have to
too
beat
in
down.
Castles of
What is
Burgundy.
Jeff's favorite game? We're going to beat down
Yeah, what's your
Underwater
favorite
Cities
game?
or Coimbra. Like, what's your favorite game right now? Would you say?
man, I
Tell
don't know.
us so we can anger you
There's
next
some things
episode.
that
with beating
like
it down.
Orleans, Terraforming Mars have all jumped into my top 10, I
Yeah.
think.
I think we
But yeah,
did
Underwater
Terraforming
Cities.
Mars.
I don't know. Underwater Cities might.
Let me
be,
ask you this: when you played, or when we played Orleans back in the day at that Nerd Fest, do you remember that?
Yeah.
What is there a reason that you like it so much more now than you did back then? Not
don't
that you
know.
didn't like it back then. I'm just wondering if there's.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not
Like, did
sure.
you like it better? Do you prefer it with two? Because when we played it at Nerdfest, I taught it there was 4 of you playing. I think.
Right. I do like it with 2. I don't think it. I think it plays really quick. We can play it in under an hour with 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe it just didn't like click right away
Sure.
the first time, but I'm glad I
Yeah.
played it again.
Yeah.
That's happened to me before.
'Cause
Where
that
like
happens to
me
I think
sometimes,
it's
too.
like Akrotiri. The first time I played it, I was like, I don't know if I like this game. And then the second time, I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
I thinking?
I had that kind of with Viticulture. The first time I played Viticulture, I was like, this game sucks. And then I don't know why, but I played it again with Jeremy, and I was like, he didn't like it, but I was like, this is actually pretty good. Like, I think I was wrong. And
Yeah.
typically my feelings on the first play are usually how I feel when I play it again.
Yeah.
There's a few games that are like that, so it's interesting. All right,
Yeah,
so
so I don't
anyway, sorry that was a tangent. Instead of a game this episode, which we've been doing a lot, I wanted to discuss a topic that's kind of been a bummer for us and everybody. And a lot of that is COVID's effect on conventions. So we just found out that our beloved Gen Con has been canceled this year, which sucks.
sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad. And while we completely all understand the
course.
necessity for that, it's still a gigantic blow to both the industry and honestly the way we consume our gaming content. Gen Con is always kind of like the hub for our group of friends around which all gaming is centered each and every year. You know what I mean? We kind of all look forward to Gen Con being like the nucleus. I mean, and in some respects, Nerdfest, but Gen Con, as far as, getting new content
Yeah.
and, going and finding it all and just like
it's where we buy the most
it
games
kind
out of the whole year.
Yeah, it's kind of like we look forward and toward
It's
Gen
just
Con every year.
Days of
Yeah.
nonstop games, whether it's playing games, play testing games, like
Buying
finding out new games,
finding out
buying
new
games. Yeah.
So with
everything
all
games.
that sucking, I wanted to talk a bit about how COVID specifically has altered the gaming industry these last few months and how online gaming has kind of ramped up and almost more just like what does the gaming industry look like now? What is it's been a couple of months, which is still a very small sample size, admittedly, but there's enough, I think, to kind of talk about and, more so even like what has it been like for you? So the biggest draw for board games over video games has always been the social aspect, right?
Yep.
When everybody talks about why they like board games more than video games, they're getting together with your friends, having that quality time to spend together while also using your brain in a way that stimulates adults' minds. It's kind of the perfect marriage of that stuff for I think grown-ups. Marriage, love. That's how Jeff did the ceremony, by the way.
Yeah, it was really classy.
COVID has come in though and kind of given the middle finger to what most people love about board games. But luckily for us, we are in an age of technology where we're mostly able to cope with it. Natalie and I have been luckier than most because we're each other's main game group.
I was going to say
anyway.
us and Jeff are very lucky that each other's spouses
But
like
still,
playing
I want
games.
to talk to Jeff about this still because Devin has been ramping up her games and she does like to play games. But Jeff's game group, the
Yeah.
main game group for Jeff, has not happened, right?
Yep.
So, who bought stock in Zoom before this? Anybody?
Right.
Because wow, Zoom. Do you think even Zoom
I've
is
never
like,
even heard of Zoom
whoa, look
before
at us.
this.
We're just like the greatest company on earth right now. Smart move, bro. If you invested in Zoom before this damn thing.
Yeah.
Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia have been a thing for a number of years, as well as other online gaming modules like Vassal and Yukata. But COVID has turned these online alternatives into a necessity for some people. You know what I mean? And that's been a really cool thing, especially when you pair it with Zoom. Again, luckily, people like us, Natalie and I, and to some extent, Jeff, we are not as affected, but a lot of people are. And with online gaming being so essential, I wonder how many people have turned to, video games.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many people have not been playing board games as much.
But we know a lot of people playing Animal Crossing.
Yeah, Animal Crossing has been like honestly like the video game of the virus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's like certain things like Zoom is the video software of coronavirus.
Video conferencing.
You know what I mean?
software.
Animal Crossing is the video game of the coronavirus.
Yeah, he
There's
like
other
checks
things
some of
like
his
that.
friends' like profiles, see like tells you how many hours they've played Animal Crossing, and some people are just like, wow, they're clearly spending a significant,
It's just
significant
what-
time
it's
doing
the
this
thing.
because What else
This
is there to
coronavirus zeitgeist has produced a lot of things that are specific to it. If you can think of anything else, there's something I'm missing.
I would
that
think
is-
like the doc, like Tiger King.
Tiger
Like the
King.
documentary
Yeah,
is Tiger
that's
King.
that's it. That's it right
Yeah.
there. Tiger King
I feel
is
like maybe that wouldn't have had so many viewers if
No.
it wasn't coronavirus, because everyone's just sitting around like, give me something to watch.
what are we gonna watch?
I just can't tell you how many people I've heard ask like, I've watched all these shows. Give me another show. Give me another show, because you just have so much time.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting way to look at the coronavirus, in terms of pop culture and what it's doing to us as a whole.
Yeah.
Playing online games via TTS is great. And I haven't done Tabletopia, but I'm sure it's a similar experience. It's just a lot clunkier, though, and not quite the same
Yeah.
experience as you get face-to-face. Personally, I have loved this time at home with Natalie and the kids, and we've still been able to game pretty much uninterrupted. But I realize we're in the minority. Like I said, Jeff, for you haven't been able to do your weekly gaming in months.
Right.
How has that been for you?
It sucks, and I know we're talking about something very serious for something very not serious. Like gaming is not. So we're not making light of any situation with COVID, but we're like
Right.
it is affecting our hobby, our main hobby.
Yeah.
But we all get it. Like I think we all understand why we have to stay home and appreciate that. So I would say I have some bad and some good about what this has done to the hobby for me. First, I'm just so disappointed about Gen Con, and I knew it was coming. And you just know it's
Yeah.
coming down the road, and you know that it's going to happen. You're just waiting, and it happens, and it is disappointing.
Yeah, I
but
was hoping to really connect with some listeners this year.
Yeah, that was going to be really cool.
Yeah.
And I was, I know we are going to make buttons. Everybody loves
Yeah.
pins, so we're
Yeah,
going to
we
make
had all these
pins. And,
grandiose plans.
yeah, so
Right.
that's disappointing. But maybe next year we can get, if we're if these people keep listening, these Peter
Yeah.
Dinklages out there or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, right. He's 4'2".
Anyway, I did look up. He's 4'4". I googled it randomly.
Yeah,
Oh.
I know. I couldn't find anybody that was actually 4'2".
Yeah, 4'2".
so-
Okay.
Close
And
enough.
yeah, so I'm disappointed in that. I am looking forward to. We're gonna do our own sort of con that weekend. Maybe just the 4 or 6 of us that usually go to Gen Con, just playing games all weekend. So I am looking forward to that.
Yep, me too.
But yeah, so I usually meet Mondays for 3-ish hours and with a game group, which involves my 2 brothers and our friend Bill. We play games, and it's a blast. And again, the game is secondary to, like you said, just the people that are at the table. The goofy jokes that we make, we're singing songs half the time. It's fun. And that has gone away, which
Has
really
that
sucks.
in any way diminished your love of the hobby?
No, I don't think so. I think that it has made me want to just continue to spend money. It hasn't been good for me purchasing things, because now I'm like, you have Orleans, but I want to play it with Devin, so I bought it. Or, I'm just like, now I'm buying games that I normally wouldn't because other people have them, but I want to play them
but
with
you
Devin.
can't play them.
That's
so I
a
can't
good
play them.
point.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's disappointing that I don't get to play games with them. And we don't get to, again, sit around the table and just goof around and have that social connection. And it is different on Tabletop Simulator. It's different on Tabletopia. It's not the same. And for how much it's cool to like manipulate the pieces on those simulations or whatever, but it's just not. And again, you can like push the space bar and talk to each other, or you can be on Zoom and talk to each other, but it's just not the same. It's not sitting around and having a game night. Mm-hmm. So that's been really sad. And I'm hoping that eventually in the next couple weeks, we can get small gatherings back together and, cautiously be together again.
Do you think that next year this is just a thing that we all just remember as a thing that happened, or do you think that this changes the landscape of, not only the world, but
That's
the
a
way
good
I would
games-
love to hope so. Like, I think I have to hope that's what it is. That, and in a year we go, hey, remember when, like that kind of thing. But I think it's going to change stuff for a while. I think I have been keeping up with a little bit of news on COVID and the vaccine and stuff like that. And they're making some great progress on the vaccine. They've come out and said that it doesn't transfer as easily on surfaces, that originally thought. So things like me rolling dice and then giving it to you and rolling dice doesn't make me as nervous. I don't have to sanitize the dice and then roll it.
Right.
So
What about those of us that put the dice in their mouth and then pass them to the other player in their mouth?
Oh yeah. Or roll them from your mouth, put them in your mouth, and then
roll them.
and
Is
then
that
spit
going to
them
be
out.
okay?
Like
Yeah,
the
I don't know.
girl from what's that? Meeple. What is it? Meeple People.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Natalie
When she
character
can't,
from the
she
Meeple
can't
People.
use her
She rolls them
hands.
from her mouth. Yeah, in Kingsburg.
So yeah, I'm really hoping so. I think they're gonna get a vaccine eventually. I'm hoping so. I kind of hope we get to a point where we can just look back and have this be a memory.
Yeah.
Hopefully, like the changes that it makes in the world are not like significant like they are now, but more just like using more technology. Like maybe people can work from home more. Maybe there's a bit more virtual learning options in schools, but everybody can basically go back to normal.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of positive things that come out with like, don't touch my food. Like,
Yeah.
when you're making the pizza. Now they're like, oh, we don't touch the pizza anymore after we go to put it in the oven.
like, why
Good,
are you
shouldn't have
touching
touched it beforehand. So like that stuff, I'm cool with like some of that
Yeah.
kind of safety thing. But yeah, I just
people
want
are
to be able to get
in
together.
general more cautious.
Yeah.
about
So I
that
would say,
I just wonder though, even if, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Jeff, even if everything goes back to normal, does Gen Con look the same next year as it always has? Is it just
know.
a fucking free for all like always, or do they limit tickets? How do they do it?
Maybe they
In my
put up,
opinion-
like, hand sanitizer stations everywhere. I think it just depends on the state of the world at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID could still be like a very real thing. Maybe not like it is now, but it could be a real thing, almost like a flu. Or
the
it
measles.
could just be
The
non-existent.
measles are still around,
and because
Not
everyone
Mr.
got
Measles, but-
vaccinated. Yeah, you just never
Yeah.
know. It's because the state of things is changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a week goes by and something totally different's happening.
Yeah,
It's
I think
just-
Gen Con's
you can't
gonna-
know.
These big conventions are gonna have to do something. I think like hand sanitizing stations, and I've read some people's like comment. I think you make aisles one way where you're not necessarily walking into other people's face.
Yeah.
I think that's an easy fix. I think you utilize Lucas Oil a lot better. I think you maybe
To
take
spread things out.
You take a third of the booths and they go in Lucas Oil, or you spread them down those hallways. I think that they're going to need to be creative next year. Maybe in 2 years or 3 years it'll return back to normal.
I just wonder if it's going to limit people going.
Yeah,
if it's going to
I know.
limit
Yeah.
vendors going. Because they don't. It's not worth it.
Well, I know.
or-
I mean, there are a lot of people who could be paranoid about being in large crowds.
I
Like
guess that would be more for the consumer because if you're a vendor, you need this income. Like, how is this affecting sales for these vendors?
I don't know. I've seen no articles or numbers, and I probably just haven't looked hard enough. But
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
curious of
haven't
what
either.
it's doing, or all these games that are going to get released, these hundreds and hundreds of games that are supposed to
Yeah.
get
Going to
released.
tank some sales, or
What's going to happen to it?
Yeah, it's just so that's the kind of stuff I'm worried about.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to. I mean, this isn't right. The gaming industry will likely be fine and survive not having
Yeah.
Gen Con in Essen for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just interesting to think about all of that. 60,000, 80,000 people at Gen Con
Yeah.
who are just there to really purchase games. You don't have that, so it's just interesting. So I took Jeff and I went to some people to see kind of what the people have been saying about this, and we got a bunch of responses, and I thought we would just talk about some of them. So the question was basically,
How has
how has COVID affected your gaming?
Right.
How has your gaming been affected by this? One person says horribly, which I can only take to, you can't go out and game with the people you want to game with. Or
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
people don't have dedicated game groups and they would go to a FLGS, a friendly local game store
Yeah.
and game just with randos. And now they can't do that. So now they got nothing.
I had a couple people say that where their local cafe, board game cafe, is closed.
Right.
I had one person who I've talked to a little bit on Instagram. He lives in Iran, and his way to get games is to go, because a lot of these places don't deliver there, so he can't just buy a lot of games online like we do. So he has to go to this cafe, and this cafe is closed, so he can't play games anymore. And I worry about those cafes. I worry about my local game store and your local, like RIW
Yeah.
and guilds. Like, are they going to make it through this?
right?
I know.
Yeah, we
How
were just
how
talking
are
about
they?
Well, we were just talking about that, and we found out that Guild of Blades, at least, were not open for people going into the building, but they were doing contactless pickup. So they were
RIW
still
is doing the same
selling
thing.
But the
games.
thing is, a lot of these and most of these local game stores make their money from Magic tournaments.
Yeah.
Where people
Yeah.
come to the store and they play in these Magic events. Board games are usually not the main draw for these FLGSs. They're usually side income that they do.
I know a lot of people, at least for RIW, have been picking up these Magic release packs or something. I don't know Magic, so I apologize.
either.
But they're driving by and they're picking up and they're like,
Oh, cool.
RIW setting out
Okay.
tables and Pam's walking out and handing it to people.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
that's
So that's
cool.
so that's maybe at least you just want to
Something.
hope that you can sustain until you can reopen.
Right, or hopefully people are buying stuff just to help them out because they
would
love
be
going
so
there and they want
sad.
to have them
Yeah.
stay around.
Right.
gift
I don't
card.
want to lose RIW and Guild of Blades.
I know.
Right.
That sounds terrible. So there's been some
Yeah.
good responses. I got a couple good responses. People were talking about like TTS and Tabletopia, things like that, that said, this has opened up an avenue of gaming that I've never explored. And they like that because now they have a way to try games that are on Tabletop Simulator that are free that they wouldn't have done before they bought a game knowing if they were going to like it. So there's, stuff like that. Some people said that there's a lot of print and play games that they're trying that maybe they wouldn't have before because they have the time, and they're gaming more with their family, getting their family closer and being better that way. Some people, just like I said, learn games that maybe they wouldn't have learned online. Another person said in kind of a negative way that they've played D&D online and it's fine, except the drawback is that only one person can talk at a time, I guess. So that's kind of a little bit of a bummer. So more on the whole, it seems like it's kind of a push. It seems like some people are like, this is terrible because I don't have anybody to play with. And other people are kind of like, it's actually working out better. I can play all my Shelf of Shame games that I haven't been able to play.
Probably just depends
Yeah.
on everyone's
You know?
situation. Like
Yeah,
we've
I've-
been playing more games lately. I mean, I feel like we've been knocking games off that we wouldn't normally have because every single night we're home. We don't have any plans to go anywhere. Where before, maybe it's starting to get warmer and we get invited here, we get invited there, and that takes away gaming time. And we're just always, have time to play games.
Right.
And I know Jeff's been buying more games. But I feel like we've been buying a lot less games.
Less, yeah.
How
weirdly. I think because this feels like the opportunity. It's like we're kind of like hunkered down. We got this whiteboard
play
of
what we
games to
got,
play.
kind of thing.
Let's play them. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I mean,
we're also in kind of a lull. There's usually kind of a lull around,
before,
before
People
convention
hold their
season.
games, yeah.
Yeah, where there's just not a ton of stuff being released right now.
Right.
So that's part of it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you got like a couple Kickstarters in the mail, and
Yeah, Kickstarter.
but I mean, we're not going like a lot of times at work. At lunch, we would just go browse the game store, and I mean, obviously, if you're browsing a game store, you're probably going to pick up a game, and we're not doing that, Or
Yep.
and then I mean, I don't know. You guys would know more than me, but like. It seems like I thought you said the other day, or Jeff said too, like are a lot of games sold out at a lot of places because people are buying them up because they're home, or why would they be sold out?
It could
is
be, or
just distribution
publishers
is,
aren't- yeah,
is
it could
on
be both.
hold, kind of thing.
Yeah, on online retailers, there's probably
Like, is that
more
another
people buying
reason?
games than
Than ever.
I would guess there. I mean, maybe because you got to think about as well. This virus has affected people's livelihood, so there's a ton of people that are just out of work.
Right, or they can't afford to.
So
buy the
maybe
games
maybe
at
that's
this
one of the
time.
things that goes away is that.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to think about, how this virus has affected us
Yeah.
and how it continues to affect us in the future.
Yeah, I've had the biggest positive in my new gaming has been I've played more games with Devin in the last 8 weeks than probably the previous years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, we sit and we schedule 2 or 3 games a week and we write it on our little schedule board and we say this is what we're going to play.
Right.
And so that's been very cool. Like our date night has been playing some games and then occasionally watch TV, where it usually has been work, come home, we're tired, and we sit down.
Right.
Or I go to game night and I get my fix out there, and then I come home and Devin doesn't have to play games. But now,
Yep.
you know,
Now she must.
I don't feel like
But it seems
We're
like
to a
she
point-
wants to.
Yeah, well, she doesn't have to play games anymore.
Right.
Now she wants to, and we're finding lots of games that she enjoys, which is
Yeah.
very cool. So that connection has been amazing. Like I
Yeah.
love playing games with her. It's fun. You know, we
Yeah.
put some goofy movie on in the background, so we're watching like Dumb and Dumber and playing Terraforming Mars, and it's so that connection has been very cool, and a lot of people echoed that as well, that they're playing a lot more 2-player games with their spouse. But I do feel for a lot of people who don't have someone at home or someone who doesn't want to play games, and you don't love playing solo games, so you're just kind of like, all right, well, I guess I'm not playing it at all.
Right, or you play online, but it's just not like as fun, or it's just
Yeah. So I would say I miss the game group, but I do love that Devin and I are playing more games. I'm hoping that continues. I'm hoping I can like play games on Monday with the group, and then Devin will want to play a game later in the week.
Right.
That we can kind of keep that pattern going.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do want to give a quick shout. I did play Tabletop Simulator with the McMeeples. We played Point Salad.
Oh, how'd
Oh,
that go?
right.
So I had to give them a shout. It was cool. Well, they were like, hey, you want to play Coimbra? And one night they texted me while we were playing Forgotten Waters, and another night I was just busy, and I'm like, man, I keep like blowing them off. They're probably
Yeah.
like, what a jerk.
Yeah.
But one day they messaged me and they were like, you want to play Coimbra? I'm like, I don't have time to play Coimbra. Let's play something quick. So we played Point Salad on TTS, on Tabletop Simulator. It was cool.
Sweet. How'd it go? It went good?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. You know,
Did you
grabbing
zoom?
veggies.
Were you zooming, or did you just...
We just did it on
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
voice thing you can do.
Are
on
they
there,
the
too.
ones that are around here, like in Wixom?
They are not.
There's somebody that's like a couple
Are they?
that lives around
They
here.
are a couple.
right?
They are a couple.
I don't know.
know.
I am
I don't
not
know.
good with memories
Sorry,
and
guys.
stuff. There's
Not
like
good with
three...
memories.
They're like in Pennsylvania or something. I don't
Okay.
know.
That's around
Sorry,
here.
guys.
That's regional. Who knows?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's fun. All right. So now let's round off the episode with some deduction in today's top 5. Catch you on the flip. All right. We are back, and we are going over our 5 games that feature deduction. Jeff's talk about the Planet X. What was that? What's that called, Jeff?
The search
Search for Planet X inspired this list.
Yeah.
I knew he had been playing that, and deduction is a mechanism that we all love, Natalie especially, and I don't think we've been able to do this list. So let's get it done. Let's go, Natalie, Jeff, me this time, if you're cool with that, everybody. Cool. And Natalie, when you are ready, why don't you start us off with one game in the 5 spot that features deduction?
All right. Well, I wasn't going to say this game, and now you made me feel bad, so I'm going to say it.
I made you
My
feel
childhood favorite,
Oh,
Mastermind.
Mastermind, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't mean to make you feel bad. I just
I
thought
know.
you would
I
have
just
had
felt
it
like
on there.
Master. Okay. I just felt like I've talked about it before, but
Master.
man, this game is literally pure deduction, and it's just so fun to me. You know, like figuring out like, okay, with the information I have, this can't be this color, and this color can't be here, so it must be this.
Well, this was
is
also
it this?
this was also your start
Yeah.
into gaming a long time
gateway.
ago. You know, you used that as like, no one wants to play this game with me.
It was my start into like non-party games.
Yeah.
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 Awesome. So Mastermind.
Just a love of mine.
Fantastical. That's a good one. All right, Jeff, what about you, man?
I have some preambling.
Here we go.
I would like to first say that this is not my favorite 5 deduction games.
Right.
I would also like to say there are, in my opinion, 2 categories of deduction games. One being deduction. The other being like a social deduction.
Oh, yeah.
And I love social deduction more than just straight up deduction.
Yep.
So both of these are within my list.
Yep, agreed.
Both of these categories are within my list.
Same,
So
samesies.
because if I made my favorite top 5, it probably would be full of Chronicles of Crime, Detective, Letters of Whitechapel. You know, it'd be just full of those games. Now, I wanted to try to broaden my horizon and tell people some games we haven't talked about, because I talk about Chronicles of Crime on every list ever. So,
Yeah.
a first deduction game is a game that plays a whole bunch of people, like somewhere in the realm of like 16, 18 people.
Oh, boy.
This game is called 2 Rooms and a Boom.
Yeah.
yeah.
Social deduction.
And 2 Rooms and a Boom is, my students love this game, and it works well with gigantic groups of people. And you try to figure out there's literally two rooms of people discussing who's who, and you can like show some things, you can't show some things, and at the end you want to get the president in the same room as the bomb if you're the bad guys, and if you want to get them in separate rooms if you're the good guys.
Right, because the bomb goes off, and if it
at the end of the third round, always at a specific time, boom, it'll go off, and then
everybody's
it's kind of like a sad theme, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty dark.
Yeah,
It's pretty
I
dark.
never thought about it. But so yeah, if you're looking for some deduction gameplay with a lot of people, that again is dependent upon the people you play with, Two Rooms and a Boom is a cool one. So check that one out.
Awesome. The one that occupies my 5 spot is a game that came out of Gen Con last year that we all were really pretty taken with, and this game is called Letter Jam.
That's what I was going to put before Master.
Oh, yeah? Okay. So this is a cooperative word-building game, and it's very fun because you're just trying to build... you're trying to deduce the 5-letter word that the person to your left gave you at the beginning of the game by building additional words with some of the cards that make up that word. It's really not as confusing as I made it sound. It's very, very fun. It really uses that deductive area of your brain to figure it out, and it's a lot of satisfying fun when you figure out your word. And just to note, you don't even have to figure out the exact word they gave you. You just have to be able to build. Basically, you have to know. You have to be correct in the letters that you think they are. Yeah. Okay, enough to build a 5-letter word.
It is,
and it's a very good one.
It's like tougher than you think.
Yeah, like people think like, oh, a word game, those are typically easier, and this one is not.
That's what I love.
But it's
about
fun.
It, I think.
Yeah,
because we all had to like work, and you're cooperative, so you're working together in this crunchy way to. Okay, I can make a 5-letter word that helps 3 people. Yeah, but I can make a 6-letter word that helps all of us. And it's like, that stuff is really cool and illuminating. So
but then
that's
it doesn't
my
help
number 5,
you
Letter Jam.
if you say the word.
Right.
Anyways.
Right. Natalie, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Dark Stories. We've had a lot of fun playing this game. Just the two of us in groups. We've brought it to parties where everyone's just sitting around and we're like, let's just pop this out. And all of a sudden a dull party turns into like a fun night. I mean, it's fun because they're, silly, sometimes dark, sometimes interesting stories. And you're just asking yes or no questions basically to figure out, what happened.
That's a good one.
Great choice.
Yeah. And great road trip game.
Yep. Perfect for the car.
And I think it's called Black Stories anywhere else other than America, right?
Yeah, weird, right?
Yeah.
It is weird.
Yeah. But that's like the greatest road trip game because you can play as the driver. You're just asking questions. Yeah. That's awesome.
You're just
great
talking.
choice.
It's so fun. Awesome. What about you, Jeff? What's number 4?
I'm going to say another one my students really like. This game is called Deception Murder in Hong Kong.
Ooh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's a good one.
Deception's a fun game. You have one person who's the murderer. They're kind of blending in, and everybody else has to figure out the murder weapon and the piece of evidence. And it's fun. So you're looking at everybody else's tableau of sort of stuff. And you're like, all right, how could this person have died? And then one person's kind of giving the clues, like to lead you in the direction of how this murder happened. And it's a really fun game at whichever side you're playing. So if you're playing the person giving the clues, that's really fun. And if you're the detective, that's really fun. Mm-hmm. If you're the murderer, that's also really tense. Right. So I feel like a lot of these social deduction games, you play it, it's like they're like different games depending on what role you're playing. And that's a really good one.
That's one of my more favorite social deduction games.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so it's
Great pick. Yep. My number 4 is kind of a reverse deduction game, and I held this one for a while. I think Deepwater has this still, and it's called Tobago. If you guys have played Tobago, Natalie, I don't think you have played it. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of reverse deduction. You're kind of like backing into the space on the board where the treasure is at, and it's a really... Honestly, maybe it's not the best to put on this list because I don't know if you can even buy it anymore. I think it might be out of print. But it's got some really awesome components, some really interesting mechanisms in terms of gameplay, almost like a Colorado type of thing for where you're playing cards. And it's really, really fun, and that's Tobago.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Number 3. My number 3 is a game where you have to find a monster, and it's called Cryptid.
Awesome.
This game is so fun. It's deduction in a different way where instead of like trying to figure out a number or a word or a crime or who did it, it was basically figuring out a spot on the board based on like different pieces of information about the map, I guess.
Yeah.
And
That's a great
sure.
choice.
yeah, I think
Yep.
it's really fun.
That was my number 3. I'm going to change it.
Oh,
We
Yeah.
played that to death at Nerdfest a couple years ago. That game hit like a meteor, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of plays of that. I played it with my kid. My students love it. Because they can also get into it very quickly, so they'll grab it and play it all the time.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. And
Fun.
that's that pure deduction.
Yep.
Where you
Yes.
do rely on some other people reading their clue properly and stuff like that. But
Right.
Yeah, you got to play it
Yeah,
all
it's
correctly
not-
to get it right.
Yeah.
definitely not a social deduction game. You don't have to
No.
play your hand.
Right.
You just
Yeah.
find the monster.
Right. Yep. Very
Good one.
cool.
That was on my list too, but I'm gonna do Ryan. I'm gonna flop it.
Yep. Flipping them up. What's yours, Jeff?
I'm
Number
gonna
3.
do one. This is a silly one that Ryan and I played probably maybe like 4 times in a row. One night. It's a game called Usual Suspects.
Oh no, Unusual Suspects.
Unusual Suspects.
Unusual.
Listen. That was the game I was just about to
Usual.
put in this slot.
Oh no.
Just both use it.
That's okay.
man. It's a
funny
no, that's
game.
hilarious. Yeah,
Okay,
Unusual Suspects. Great
yeah.
game. Great choice.
And it's just so goofy. It leads to a lot of, borderline suspect stuff. You say, but
Yep.
it's
Borderline,
it's really
like,
fun.
Find out the
stereotype-
casual racism that you all
Racism.
exhibit.
It's
Stereotype,
it's like a grid of
yeah.
people, and explain if I'm wrong. There's a grid of people, and you're trying to narrow it down to the person.
Yeah,
by
it's
asking these
basically-
silly
it's-
questions.
If you remember, it's basically guess
Guess
who for
who?
adults.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a
It's
fantastic
basically
choice.
it's like would
Yeah.
this person do this or something?
yeah. Would this person rob a
And
McDonald's?
you just and
Yeah.
you don't
And you
know. You're
find
just
out
making
what
it
your
up
person
based on
thinks
your own
about-
opinion.
Yeah, you find out
Yeah.
what everyone thinks exactly.
Oh, man,
All
I
right,
can't
well
believe
then
you're gonna put
that's
that
a
one there.
great.
Yeah.
No, that's a great choice.
is
That's a great
good.
choice. I'll go in a different direction then with my number 3, and I will go. This is a chip theory game, and it's one of their small box games. They have everybody knows Too Many Bones and Cloudspire and Hoplomachus, but they have a small box game as well called Trip Lock. And this is a really cool solo experience. I actually have a YouTube video of myself teaching the game somewhere out there on YouTube. And it's fun because you are just trying to deduce. You have these stacks of chips in these 4 different spots, and each chip is double-sided, and you have to basically get those double-sided chips in the right order to unlock to trip the lock, to unlock the lock and get out. The solo experience is a lot more fun for me personally than the multiplayer experience. I played it 2 players a few times with Jeremy and Jeff.
I played it.
And did we play it with you too? It's good. It wasn't I for some reason the solo experience was so much more fun for me to figure that out. And that's a great inexpensive little deduction game if you're looking for something like that. Solo, very cool components, and that's called Trip Lock. So what's your number 2, Natalie?
My number 2 is Code 777.
7.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is just a classic straight up deduction game.
Straight up.
straight up.
Where
Straight
you're
up,
trying
not
to figure
playing
out
me.
what your 3 numbers on your little thing are, and more times than everyone else. But
Yeah, you got to do it 3 times to win, right?
Yep.
yep. But I mean,
Don't listen to Josh, and you should be.
Don't listen to Josh. Be fine.
Anybody named
that
Josh,
story?
don't listen to
I think
him.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we
Ugh.
told it on the show once.
Yeah. I think
Annoying.
you did on the
Annoying.
show.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Cool.
Yeah,
That
that's a
one's fun.
game.
All right, Jeff, what's your number 2?
This number 2 is there's a heavier game beyond the deduction portion. I'm going to say a game called Battlestar
Has
Galactica.
deduction.
Yeah, Battlestar.
Definitely has deduction in it, and you have to play
Sure, figuring out
as
who's
your
the Cylon.
character.
Yeah.
You have to figure out who the Cylon is. You could switch halfway through, so that changes your gameplay a little bit. So you're also you're not only playing a game, but you're trying to look and figure out who's who. Why would they put that worker there? Why would they take that action? Are they a Cylon? And then you're pointing to each other over and over
Yeah.
again. So Battlestar Galactica is a great game and also has an awesome social deduction element in it.
Absolutely. For my number 2, I will pick a game that basically distills the game from Battlestar Galactica into its core social component, and that is a game called The Resistance
Yep.
or /Avalon. So this game for a long time, maybe 2 or 3 years, was probably and I would wager to guess Jeff's favorite game.
It was awesome.
We played this game so
death.
many times. Every time it was so much fun. Jeff and me have the same kind of love for this social deduction thing. We have the same kind of boisterous, like in your face, talking all the time personality that makes this game come alive. And if you have a few people that do that, because we also love playing this game with Donkey Kong, and really the three of us, I think, like that game more than anybody we've played it with, and we played it a ton of times. And it, like Jeff said, it's definitely a different style deduction than a Code 777 Mastermind or like a Sleuth. But this one is all, okay, I have cards in my hand. I have to lie to you now. You need, how well I lie is dependent on how good I'm going to do. And my arguments, how convincing can I make my arguments? And I'm just flat out lying to you. Can I make you believe me? And if I can, that's where the joy is in this game. That is the joy. And that little fear, that fear of like, okay, I'm bad and I have to convince him that I'm good. How do I do that? I can't just sit quiet because that's not going to help me. So I got to do something. And then you're like in the middle of talking. And as you're talking, your brain's like, he knows what you're doing. He knows what you're doing. He's going to call you out. And then he's like, I'll take Ryan on the mission. And you're like, yes! And then you fail it. It's great. So that game is, we've played that game to death. To death. And I love it. That's the Resistance.
That's the game I get my students into when they first show up to Board Game Club. A lot of times I'll get like, they'll be like, we're playing the Resistance, and they get it. And that's like, it's a great game to introduce people to that.
Scythe.
Yeah. Great choice.
So that's my number 2. Natalie, what is your number 1?
My number 1, this is one that I had asked you yesterday. This is a deduction game, and you're like, hell yeah, it is, but it's Love Letter.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
This game is so great. We played this game so many times over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, I guess it's not quite as like straight up. It's not as like obvious deduction, I guess, as the other games that I mentioned. But
you were absolutely still deducing.
Yeah, you were deducing.
You're playing all the cards
because there's only a certain amount of each type of card, and you're trying to deduce what they have in their hand to win the game.
I gotta go drop a deduce.
But man, this game's great. Some people I played with don't like this game, but me and Ryan love it.
We love it. We love it 2-player, which is usually the weird thing.
I know.
Yeah.
We love it.
But we just are like,
rattle them off, baby. Jeff, what about you, man? What is your number 1?
My number 1, not my favorite deduction game, but number 1, is a great family game. As we're talking about being stuck at home with your family, you can go pick up this game called Mysterium.
Yeah.
With family. Mysterium is super fun. Again, you're trying to figure out. It's very Clue-esque, right? The place, the murderer, and the murder weapon. But you're doing it in a very cool way and unique way, where someone's a ghost and they're handing you these very beautiful cards with.
The artwork is amazing. Crazy
art on it that's awesome, and you're trying to, again, deduce, why did you give me this card to make me put my pawn on the stapler? Like, what am I, there's not a stapler in it, but, that the game is really fun. I know I like it a little more. I know, Ryan, it didn't really hit with you when you played, but I've played with my students. It's fun. It's a great intro into gaming as well, so...
Absolutely.
Again, stuck at home, check that out.
That's a fantastic pick.
Sweet.
Yeah, I realize I'm in the minority there. And I do realize the game is good. Yeah, just for whatever reason, it wasn't the best. I agree with Jeff on my number 1. This is not my favorite deduction game, but I wanted to also pick a game that from this genre that I haven't talked about a ton. And so my number 1 is Fury of Dracula. This is a game along the lines of Letters from Whitechapel or Scotland Yard, where there's a board with a bunch of spaces on it, and one person is Dracula trying to run away and get away from the vampire hunters that are chasing him. And it's a little different. There's more to it than a game like Letters from Whitechapel. Letters from Whitechapel, all you have to do is get in the same space with Jack and arrest him, and it's over, you win, right? Or Jack gets to his hideout 3 times or something like that, and he wins. In Fury of Dracula, it's not enough that you have to find the space Dracula is in. You have to kill him. So you're fighting. So a lot of times you find Dracula, and then he hurts you, and then he may kill one of you off, and then he runs away, and you got to find him again and kill him. And he can sire vampires and lay traps for you, and it's really fun. It takes a long time to play, but it's a fantastic game in this hidden movement deduction genre, and that's Fury of Dracula. Check it out.
Great choice.
Nice.
That would be Letters from White. If you don't want to play a 2.5 to 4 hour game of Fury, Letters from Whitechapel is the lighter version of that, and it's just as amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So that's going to do it for us tonight, everybody. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can find us on Instagram at Gamecasters or at MadBoardGamer. Both those accounts serve as the podcast. We also have a Facebook group. You can just search Gamecasters. You'll find us there. Also, you can email us at thegamecasterspodcast@gmail.com. We also have an incredibly barren BGG guild. So if you'd like to head on over there, Natalie, we are Guild 3678, Natalie. Also, if you like the show, we would love it so much if you would consider rating us on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen that allows you to rate us. No less than 5, please. All the music for this and every episode was produced by Jeremy Pete. If you enjoyed it and want some of your own for your next project, please email us to discuss. So, for Natalie, Jeff, the Mad Board Gamer, I am Ryan, and you have been listening to The Gamecasters. Good night, everybody.